Baby, let's see how fast this all black Silverado goes. And how many miles is it gonna take to get away from you? You're breaking on the camel's heart. You got me drinking at a downtown bar. I'm overthinking, getting too damn drunk, and that's what I get for falling too in love. Remember that back road, baby. Remember them stars in the sky. Remember that tailgate we were sitting on when you looked me in the eye. I remember those backwoods, baby. We would roll them up and get high. Said we'd stay here and plant roots till you and I die. Guess I'm just learning how to let it go, go. Guess I'm just learning how to live alone, alone. It's hard for me to take it slow, slow, slow. So, baby, let's see how fast this all black Silverado goes. And how many miles is it gonna take to get away from you? You're breaking on the camel's heart. You got me drinking at a downtown bar. I'm overthinking, getting too damn drunk, and that's what I get for falling too in love. I don't think you can. I'm putting my heart on ice and cold beer. Baby girl, it's no fair. Baby girl, it's no fair. It's all your fault and you know it. This shit is driving me insane. I saw this truck parked in your driveway at your place. Now I'm packing all my things trying to get away. Baby, let's see how fast this all black Silverado goes. And how many miles is it gonna take to get away from you? You're breaking on the camel's heart. You got me drinking at a downtown bar. I'm overthinking, getting too damn drunk, and that's what I get for falling too in love.
Who needs a job when you got a boat? Time to get in that water. Boat on the trailer, headed down to the dock. You know it's always happy hour when the cooler is stocked. I got a blonde hair beauty sitting right by my side, and we'll be posted on the sandbar till the day that we die. Yeah, I think I'm loving this life more and more every day. Cause when we're drinking, we'll be drinking more than just one or two. We got Toby on the speakers preaching red, white, and blue. Life is better on the water, let me tell you the truth. There ain't no such thing as a floatable blue. Floatable blue. I went to Hollywood to make it big, but then I quickly figured out that I'm a small town kid. My collar's blue and my neck is red. On the intercoastal waters I was born and bred. Yeah, I think I'm loving this life more and more every day. Cause when we're drinking, we'll be drinking more than just one or two. We got Kenny on the speaker saying take off your shoes. Life is better on the water, let me tell you the truth. There ain't no such thing as a floatable blue. Floatable blue. Yeah, I'm a floatable blue.
You got red flags when I'm colorblind. I ignore the signs, yeah, you know the vibe. And I still get all the butterflies from your diamond eyes when you tell me lies. You're doing cartwheels in my head, releasing my dopamine. You're breaking bad and now I see. What a time just to be alive. Last night you told me things that you can't deny. Just friends hiding underneath your sheets. And your lips are reminiscent. You got red flags when I'm colorblind. I ignore the signs, yeah, you know the vibe. And I still get all the butterflies from your diamond eyes when you tell me lies. You got red flags, but I'm in denial. You got red flags, but it's still world. You got red flags, but I'm in denial. It's a red car foul every time you smile. Cigarette drags followed by the bottle. Yeah, I don't fuck with models, cause all y'all bitches wild. It's 2 a.m. in the morning and you don't respond to text. Where you at? It's just a test. I'm about to hit my ex for the flex. But do I wanna deal with the mess? You know I don't, but I'm a bit obsessed with the sex. And your lips are reminiscent. You got red flags, but I'm colorblind. I ignore the signs, yeah, you know the vibe. And I still get all the butterflies from your diamond eyes when you tell me lies. You got red flags, but I'm in denial. You got red flags, but I'm still world.
Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. How are you this morning? My name's Grant Smith Ellis. We're going to be reading a motion today. I want to set expectations. It's from the TurtleBoy case. It is about Michael Proctor, though, so I'm sure we're going to learn all sorts of interesting things. And I think Mark Betterow wrote it. It was in 14-point century schoolbook font, so you know Mark Betterow wrote it. We'll probably learn some things. I'll analyze it. It's tangential. Well, it's directly related to the Karen Reed and John O'Keefe case. It has to do with a reporter. His name's Aiden TurtleBoy Carney. He's charged. I think there's 11, maybe 15. It's really hard to keep up. There were, 16 charges, and then there were 18, or 19. Then it went down to 18. Then it went down to 16. Or no, then it went up to 20. Then it went down to 18. Then it went down to 12. I'm pretty sure that's the order of things. All right, so there's some charges remaining. They have to do with felony witness intimidation. I've never really weighed in on what I've thought about the underlying case. Kind of got wrapped up in the polemics. The underlying case is absurd. It has to do, and I want to know did Aiden come up with the rolling rally, or did, he get baited into doing it? Because there's a case, I'm not a lawyer, this is not legal advice. I did go to law school, though. There's a case in Massachusetts. It's just so odd. There's this case that says, if you go... It wasn't pre-trial. It was during the damn trial. Some dude went to the house of the complaining witness during the trial. This was years ago. I forget the case name, in Massachusetts. And that was the basis for a WI charge on the grounds that, it's one thing if you just talk to someone at a courthouse, but when you go to their house during the pendency of proceedings, it raises to the level of WI. Therefore, so what happened was, TurtleBoy was writing about corruption in Norfolk County. It actually goes back to September of 2022. There's this great article TurtleBoy wrote about the Sandra Birchmore case that also gets into the case of a woman named Tiffany Overstreet. All right, jump forward to April of 2023, and TurtleBoy meets Karen Reed. Now, ostensibly, the way that TurtleBoy, who's a journalist, meets Karen Reed, who's a criminal defendant at the time, she was acquitted of John O'Keefe's death, is through these two people. One of them's named Jen Altman. The other one's named Natalie. Now, Natalie goes by Natalie the German, but her name's Natalie Wiewicki Berkshire. I don't freaking know. She's got connections in Hollywood. So anyway, in the spring of 2023, there's this ostensibly what looks like just a random sort of friend of Karen's from college, Natalie, meeting up with this woman named Jen Altman, who she sees in the comments of some Facebook post, and telling Jen Altman that Karen and Aiden should work together so that Aiden can cover Karen's case. Well, it turns out very quickly, Natalie was anti-Karen and anti-TurtleBoy the whole time. She flipped immediately and started saying everything that she could and more to the state police. This state police unit, turns out, are a bunch of bad dudes, including Michael Proctor, Brian Tully, John Fanning, Yuri Buchanan, the whole lot of them. So anyway, Natalie sings like a canary, almost like she was always intending to sing like a canary. Jen Altman plays a longer con, all right, in my opinion. She goes for 2 to 3 years on this ridiculous, riding Aiden so hard I was worried she was gonna break him. All right, and I can see a rat from a mile away. I've been around. I know what a rat is. And I was like, bro, that's fake. And finally, in the past, 3 months, Jen Altman comes out as Auntie Karen and Auntie Aiden. Obviously, Jen and Natalie probably knew each other, and that was a setup. Now, I've heard of something in, like, IC, intelligence community parlance, called, like, wind them up and let them go. All right? You put a volatile, like, person in a situation, and you just, like, wind them up and let them go. So I think Aiden being introduced to Karen's case was initially designed to subvert Karen's budding movement related to her case, but it backfired on the state police for a number of reasons I won't get into, and ended up like Streisanding. The Streisand effect is when you try to keep something out of the public and it gets more attention, like Barbara Streisand's house in 1993. So anyway, it ends up Streisanding the Karen Reed case. The way Ada was targeted, the way they targeted him was they put people around him, and then they charged him criminally, unnecessarily, just to kind of like stop or try to stop him from talking about this case. And that spiraled then into just this. I would argue it's more vindictive a prosecution than what happened to Kilmar, Alberto Garcia, or whatnot. Because basically what you had was like a bunch of people who had a lot of power in Canton and Stoughton in those areas telling the DA, Michael Morrissey, like, you got to get this guy. And the DA ostensibly recused himself from the cases in like 2023, Aiden's cases, but the special prosecutor statute in Massachusetts has the special prosecutor reporting directly to the DA who's recused. So it's just been this like multi-year battle. They tried to get him in so many ways. You wouldn't believe it. He would knock on a window and they would try to arrest him and get his bail revoked. It got way out of hand. It really did. It was like a personal vendetta by like this small group of people who knew the Norfolk DA to like put this man in jail. And frankly, when you actually get into it, the people he was fighting or is still fighting, they got a lot of power. A substantial amount of power. And what they were able to do is they used this like woman who's used to work for Aiden. She's like, we got to talk about it because she ends up knowing Michael Proctor and Michael Morrissey and Jen McCabe and all these other people, and she had a Discord server with them during the pendency of Aiden and Karen's cases. It's very complicated. Then Michael Morrissey sent himself a link to that Discord server, which makes it discoverable, even though she deleted it. It's very complicated. The point is, this woman used to work for Aiden, and I don't know exactly what she's up to. She told me one time that she knows a bunch of cops, and I was like, why? And then she never told me why. This woman who shall remain nameless. But then I heard she was pimping her roommate, and so I'm like, was she running girls for cops? That's kind of what I was wondering. And that would make sense then why she's just out to get Aiden. It's not just a personal thing. She's got like friends who are cops, and she was called in as like the attack dog to psychologically profile them. But anyway, that's the background here. All right, so we're looking at, I'd say, a fall, I think November, December 2026 trial for Aiden. It's actually in Suffolk Superior Court. The trial might be in Norfolk Superior Court, but all the pretrial hearings got moved up to Judge Belzeos in Suffolk County. He's in Suffolk County Superior Court. So the next hearing for Aiden's going to be downtown, but I think the trial itself is in Norfolk County, in Norfolk Superior Court. The point is, so this is going to trial, and the question, the operative questions that we're going to be looking at today are, one, what was Michael Proctor, the Proctorgate, what was Michael Proctor's role in this criminal investigation of Aiden Carney? He was a complaining witness, he was investigating Aiden, like he was testifying to the grand jury. Like, what was Michael Proctor doing in this case? Why is that relevant? Well, because what Michael Proctor was doing determines whether Aiden gets access to the 200,000 Proctorgate messages. All right, right now, the only people who really have those are like Miles King, Giovanni Dos Santos, Johnson, and one or two other criminal defendants, who are all repped by people with conflicts of interest, like Joe Krowski. But anyway, just saying. Rosemary Scapiccio seems pretty legit, though. I believe she's legit. Now that I found out she didn't actually represent Kevin Albert, and Tully just wrote her name down on an email to Lally for reasons that are as yet unclear, and said she was representing Kevin Albert when she wasn't. But anyway, so continuing along, the first operative question is, what was Michael Proctor's role in the investigation? And then in turn, how much of that behavior weighs on the decision that Judge Doolin, or probably Judge Belzios, is going to have to make, or Judge Krupp, who the hell knows who issued the original order, about whether Michael Proctor's material that from his cell phone extraction that's caused Proctorgate. Remember, initially Karen Reed revealed it like 3 weeks ago in Bristol Superior Court in her lawsuit against the state police and the Canton police for negligently hiring and retaining Michael Proctor and Sean Good. And then it was revealed again by Rosemary Scapicchio last week, more like 10 days ago, in the Miles King case through an unsealed motion to dismiss. Then it was further revealed yesterday by Rosemary Scapicchio when she released a unimpounded attachment, Exhibit B, which contained 36 pages of Michael Proctor's messages. And then I also wanted to say thank you to Oh Sweet Nothing, who says Natalie gives us Natalie's a bad name. Yes, Enrique Delgado Garcia, I saw someone mention that in chat. That was also a important case involving the state police. Someone asked if I'm going to read the document. Yes, but you won't understand the document unless I give you the full context. So what we're talking about is a motion from Aiden to compel the Norfolk DA to give up the Proctorgate files. Why is that relevant? I just explained it. And then the implications of it go beyond just the request here, because Aiden's also filed a supplemental motion to dismiss his case, probably related to prosecutorial misconduct, but I don't have the unredacted version of that document. So we're starting with a motion to compel production of the Proctorgate files. We're going to learn about whatever the argument is. We're going to talk about it, and then if I can get that unredacted motion to dismiss, we'll read that. But that's the background, and now you're ready to understand the document. Just reading the document without the background isn't really. There's not enough foundation for someone who's not familiar with the TurtleBoy case to then be able to understand what the document's about. All right, so it's entitled Defendant's Second Motion to Compel Disclosure of Michael Proctor's Communications with Incorporated Memorandum. Now comes defendant, Aiden Carney, by and through undersigned counsel, and hereby requests disclosure of the communications of Michael Proctor within the Commonwealth's possession, custody, and control as set forth herein. As grounds, understated counsel states as follows. 1. I'm the attorney of record for the defendant, Aiden Carney, and am familiar with the facts and circumstances herein. 2. This is Kearney's second motion seeking an order from the court directing the Commonwealth to disclose to the defense all electronic communications sent and received by former Massachusetts State Police, MSP, Trooper Michael Proctor, that are within the Commonwealth's possession, custody, or control. Remember, the Commonwealth extracted Michael Proctor's phone. They took it. It wasn't Proctor just turning over an extraction. They actually took possession and extracted it. We still don't know why. Well, we know why, because of an order from the Norfolk Superior Court. We don't know why it happened that way. All right, let's continue. All right, hold on. I saw a comment was removed. What did it say? I don't think we have to hide them. I think we can just time them out for like 5 minutes. We can unhide them. I'm pretty liberal with oh, God bless you, Judy. I'm pretty liberal with what people are allowed to say. Unless it's a violation of the channel rules, they can say whatever they want. I don't care. They can't troll. They can't be, like, defaming people or being mean or using slurs. But on the whole, if it's an opinion and they want to weigh in, they can say it. Even if, but it can't, I prefer no personalities except towards me. You want to use a personality towards me? That's fine. Don't use it towards the people we're talking about. Don't use it towards people in chat, etc., etc. Yeah, we had to cover. I covered the war on this channel, so I had 182 countries here. I'm very used to like very intense opinions on everything. So opinions are fine, no personalities. And there's a lot of mods, so good luck with that. On October 16, 2025, at a hearing in the Brian Walsh case, the Commonwealth acknowledged that it was in actual possession of hundreds of thousands of items extracted from Proctor's cellular phone, including text messages, emails, audio files, and photographs. The Commonwealth confirmed that many of these materials were discoverable and or favorable to defendants in cases in which Proctor was a potential witness, aka the origins of Proctorgate. On October 21st, 2025, I emailed Special Prosecutor Robert Cosgrove and Norfolk County DA First Assistant Lisa Beatty a specific demand under Brady v. Maryland 373 U.S. 83 and Giglio v. U.S. 402 U.S. 150, 1972, for the disclosure of any of Proctor's communications or other evidence on his devices which tended to impair his credibility and or otherwise tended to favor Mr. Carney. Bruce Wayne says, "Behold, witness the almighty towel as he stands upon a mountain, lifting and then throwing the puny McAlberts into the abyss of poverty and RICO." God bless you, Bruce Wayne. I love your username. Thank you for your support of Towel Channel. All comments show up on this screen, but if I see a super chat go up, I'll absolutely try to read it. All right. This is all good history and context, by the way. It's a good refresher as we get ready for the July, I want to say it's 16th hearing on the motion to dismiss in this case. It's a good refresher. Let's see. On October 21st, 2025, so Cosgrove on the same day, declined to provide any Proctor-related evidence because, according to Mr. Cosgrove, Proctor, quote, didn't play any investigative role in Carney's cases, and B, he didn't intend to call Proctor as a prosecution witness against Carney. That's not what Rule 14 says. That is not what Rule 4... I'm supporting Bettero's argument here. Rule 14, Cosgrove... Rule 14, as of March of 2025, was updated, and it does not require that Proctor play an investigative role. Which, by the way, he probably did play an investigative role. But it doesn't even require that. Have you read the new Rule 14 or the reporter's notes to it? Maybe Mr. Cosgrove wasn't familiar. On October 24, 2025, the defense filed its first motion seeking an order compelling disclosure of the Proctor evidence. I remember that. But it was very redacted. Nobody could really tell what was going on in that motion because the court, somebody was protecting Proctor. I think it was Judge Krupp. Did you know Judge Krupp's in the Epstein files? It's true. You can search Green Jets or Peter Krupp. He shows up. He's in there. Epstein, right before he went down in 2019, got sued by this firm that was like extorting him. And so Epstein, I think, tried to like threaten the entire country. So he dropped in discovery of that lawsuit this ridiculous client list. It had like everybody, bro. And the crazy thing about it is Krupp, when he was a lawyer in 2011, when he got the stake in Epstein's like related company, which was Green Jets, Krupp was representing a Russian spy in federal court in Boston. So, you know, and I've always thought, you know, the Ruskies, probably Mossad, were involved in the Khashoggi Epstein thing. I always felt it was the Ruskies and Mossad. It just had that KGB flair to it. So anyway, I forget what the relevance of that was. All right, let's continue. Judge Krupp, that's right. So when you ask the question, who was keeping this stuff? Wait a minute. Oh, Share Bear's here. Yeah, Share Bear. Sorry, not today. Not today, Share Bear. That seems like spamming at this point. It seems like you might be LARPing a little bit. All right. Towel Girlfriend, yeah, we can get rid of Dear Share Bear if they keep LARPing. That seems like flooding to distract Share Bear. Sorry, we were already on guard for that. But yeah, so if you're asking who kept this material from the public, who forced these motions to be redacted for months and months and months, it was actually Judge Krupp. Judge Doolin came in and saved the day. Judge Doolin ordered them unimpounded. Judge Doolin must have been like, what is going on here? Judge Doolin's actually the regional administrative justice now in Norfolk County. So he's got a lot of power. He determines which judges get assigned where. But anyway, the point is, Judge Doolin eventually unredacted them months out, not just these, but also in the Miles King case. These I don't think have ever been redacted. They're still subject to an impoundment order. But at least in the other cases, Judge Doolin, which I imagine someone will hopefully do in this case, intervened, overrode Judge Krupp, and released the files. But yeah, it's Peter Krupp. Hello, McCossie G. Yeah, I think Share Bear's gonna lose their wrench. They've been acting out. They've been acting out a lot. I don't know what made them act out, but It's almost like they were flooding. As soon as we started talking about Proctorgate, Share Bear started flooding the channel with like nonsense that was unrelated to the stream. Yesterday too. 3 days ago too. So that's not going to happen. Too vigilant for that. So anyway, it's Judge Krupp that's at the core of all this. In response to Mr. Cosgrove's claim that Proctor didn't play any role in the MSP investigation of Carney. And by the way, it's really hard for me to say Carney. I'm going to correct myself, but it's because someone kept saying Kearney in court. I think it was Cosgrove, but they just kept saying it. And when I hear something the first time, that's how it sticks in my brain. So it's hard to remember Carney, but if I think of a car, when I say the name, I can say it right. So forgive me if I slip. I'm working on it. But it's Carney. And I think Cosgrove does it on purpose. So, like, because, like, Kate Peter does that too. Other people say his name wrong or won't say his name. Like, the former FBI agent, Jen Coffindaffer, whose boss knows Dave Tinsley's, like, colleague. It's really weird, bro. I interrogated her about it. She was all weird. Anyway, the point is they call him the blogger, which I think is so petty. Like, come on. Like, ridiculous. Anyway, my point is it's Carney. Karina says, keep up the good work. Grant, I'm following you. Thank you very much. In response to Ms. Cosgrove's claim that Proctor didn't play any role in the MSP investigation of Carney, our prior motion cited examples of Proctor's involvement, including his interactions with other MSP investigators about Carney's alleged witness intimidation. For example, Proctor testified in the grand jury that the MSP installed cameras to watch portions of the, quote, rolling rally for which Carney was later indicted for picketing. Proctor claimed that he watched protesters near his and his wife's home. I still say that's a setup. I think we're going to find that was a setup. Hello, it's pronounced. Welcome to the channel. Thank you for your support. Enjoy your wrench. Oh, no, Connie Lewis, not a problem. I did not take it wrong at all. I appreciate your question, and welcome to the channel. Hello, Lori Marie, welcome. Let's continue. You all have a fun time. Everybody has a wrench. Now, I still say, though, that rolling rally, if it actually gets looked into, I think we're going to find it was a setup. Like, Aiden was set up. I don't know by who. And we have a lot of questions about the state actor doctrine. We have a lot of questions about, like, entrapment, legitimate entrapment. A lot of people claim entrapment when the police investigate them. The entrapment is like you're going down the street to buy a newspaper and some dude comes up and like sells you cocaine and you say, no, I don't want the cocaine. And then the dude's like, no, you have to buy the cocaine. And you like buy it and then they arrest you for buying cocaine. That's entrapment. If Ada wasn't intending to go to the home and a state actor operating under instruction of the MSP told him to do it, with him thinking it was just his friend or supporter, that is a very good argument for, one, extreme prosecutorial misconduct, but also entrapment. And not the sovereign citizen version of it, the legitimate version of it. Number 8. Proctor further testified that he was the lead investigator on the Karen Reed case. Oh, actually, before I keep reading, I should let folks know that everyone has a wrench, but there's some chat moms that have super wrenches, and they can moderate other mods. So everybody just be friendly, amiable, lovely. Thank you for your support of Towel Channel. Proctor further testified that he was the lead investigator on the Karen Reed case. Footnote 1. Footnote 1. At Reed's 2025 trial, at which Proctor did not testify, his supervisor, Sergeant Yuri Buchanan, defiantly and falsely testified that Proctor was not the lead investigator in the Reed investigation. Yeah, I never understood that. Proctor claimed that he first encountered Carney after Carney called him, identified himself as a journalist, questioned him about A, his personal relationship with the Alberts, B, why he lied about the time when Reed's car was towed, which is a very operative fact, because it has to do when the car gets to the Sallyport, which has to do with the 5:38 p.m. Eastern footage on 1/29/2022 of the Mystery Man in the Sallyport near Proctor and the tail light of Karen's car. C, which is right before the first pieces of taillight were found, if you believe the MSP report at 5:45 p.m. C, why Proctor misspelled the names of witnesses in his reports. That part always stuck out to me. Like, bro, you know how to spell their names. You've known them forever. You've lived in Canton forever. And D, when he first went to the Albert home after John O'Keefe was killed. Everybody behaving? Good, everybody was behaving. Everybody's behaving. 9, at Carney's trial, video evidence will establish... Ooh, this is going to get good. We have an allegation of perjury. Ooh, you have my attention. I don't know what that means, Bruce, but I'm all about it. Whatever a round-eyed towel is, and I don't even know what that last word is, so, you know, I hope it's pleasant. That was like when I was trying to read the Michael Proctor messages, and I didn't know what a sangi was. I thought it was a foreign language. It turns out it's just a short word for sandwich, which is a slang for sandwich. I thought it was like, you know, some obscure, like, language I've never heard of. I thought it was sangria. Ebony C got a kick out of that. Shout out, Ebony C. Alright, let's see. Hello, retired Elio. Welcome. And hello, Beachy Stacy. Thank you for joining the channel. I try to give everyone a wrench when they come in. I'm not even kidding you. You can't really do anything with the wrench, but, you know. Alright, here we go. At number 9. At Carney's trial, video evidence will establish that Proctor perjured himself before the grand jury by falsely claiming that he observed on video a protester park on his lawn and another spit at his house during the rolling rally. The video that Proctor viewed showed no such things. Wow. Did we know this before? I don't remember learning this before. That's pretty explosive. Hello, Mini Bear. I think I'm going to write this up. When I'm really into something, I actually write it up in real time while we're live. So let me take a screenshot and do it. Wow. I think this is new. Now, you all would know more so than me. I mean, I've read every document. I don't recall ever reading this before. I think this is new. I'm going to write it up. That's big. That's big news. He got him on perjury. And you know they are charging MSP with perjury right now. They charged I think some of the troopers in, was it the Enrique Delgado Garcia case, with perjury during the state grand jury. You want to know what's weird? I know the guy who's the prosecutor on that case. David Meyer. I've known him since like 1995. I've known him forever. He tried a homicide trial in Suffolk County once, and I went to it when I was like 9. Now that I think about it, that's a little weird. Anyway, I've heard this many times and saw the video. Oh, okay, we had heard of this. Thank you, Ashley Oaks and Courtney. It's new to me, though. It is new information to me. I have not seen the video. I did not know that Proctor perjured himself during the grand jury. So I'll write it up after, but if we've heard it before, I won't break it. But I didn't know he perjured himself and got caught. That's actually very important. It impugns. How did this survive an Odell, DeBenedetto, or McCarthy motion to dismiss? I love Odell, DeBenedetto, and McCarthy motions to dismiss. Those are the pretrial motions to dismiss standards in Massachusetts for reviewing grand jury proceedings. You've reviewed them for different reasons. Like, one of the cases, I think it's Odell, has to do with prosecutorial misconduct. McCarthy has to do with like someone lying. Now, it's a very generous standard. And if I recall, one of the prior motions to dismiss under one of those 3 cases brought up like Tully lying or something, but it wasn't good enough to meet the standard. I can't understand how this is going to trial. This was impaired. This whole proceeding was impaired. If you review the record de novo, which means from the beginning, this whole proceeding was foundationally impaired from the beginning. And I wasn't on the inside of it. I wasn't. They never trusted me. Cosgrove never said a word to me. He did not like me. He knew that I was hunting. I don't think he knew what I was hunting for. I just think he knew I knew something was wrong. So he never would talk to me. He would just glare at me. Now that I think about it, I actually have some pretty interesting insights. Yeah, they really I mean, I'm sure Aiden was wondering the whole time, but I definitely think they impaired the integrity of the grand jury proceedings. They impaired the integrity of the investigation and the grand jury proceedings, in fact. And it mostly centers on Kate Peter. She was the enabler. It's really probably Morrissey who drove it, with, like, Tully as the point man, and then Proctor and Yuri and John Fanning, etc., etc., etc. Garino. But the best I can understand, it was Morrissey. And it wasn't a personal hatred. So, here's what I understand. Just to give you a little peek behind the curtain. I can't and won't talk too much about it for various reasons. But a couple of years ago, your friendly little towel was tipped off that it, quote, wasn't Michael Morrissey, it was the guys around him. And I was like, what the hell does that mean? You know, I got friends. And this wasn't like a person on the street. This was a friend. This person knew a lot. And I was like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. That can only mean one thing. Like the SPDU, the State Police Detectives Unit, or his donors. Or some combination of the two. Wait until you find out what actually happened. I'm not saying a thing. But it's way worse than anybody imagines. So, yeah. I think what happened was Aiden and Karen and John, frankly, and Sandra Birchmore all became privy to, like, that which you're not supposed to know. And then Michael Morrissey was kind of the guy who, through the state police unit, he had doled out the punishment if you knew too much. Alright, let's continue. Sorry, I just really wanted to explain why this happened, because I really don't believe it had anything to do with the way Aiden was acting towards the witnesses. It was what he was going to inadvertently stumble onto. I was actually watching his Bus Stop Live yesterday I watched the part about Tiffany Overstreet, or he was talking about me and Kyle, and he was reading my post, and he was saying the names Tiffany Overstreet, Sandra Birchmore, and Karen Reed, and he said Tiffany Overstreet, and it was really interesting because he was like, wait a minute, I don't know that name, and then he moved to Sandra Birchmore, and then he paused, and he was like, wait a minute, maybe I do. And if he goes back and looks at his reporting, I do this with my own reporting. You think I can remember? I can remember most of it, but you want me to go back to, like, the spring of 2023 and tell you verbatim what I wrote about greatest hits in the context of the CCC and Sean Collins? I can do it. I probably don't remember every interview I did, but I can do it. If I went back and read it, I'd be like, oh yeah, that was that, and that was, etc. If he goes back and reads that Tiffany Overstreet article with the lens he has now, he's going to realize he put this together before the case started. And that's why he was targeted. It was never Karen. He was on their radar from September 2022 onwards. I think they set him up with Karen. Which goes to my theory that it was Natalie and Jen Altman who were the point women on this op. And I think Sean on the Gulf's involved. You ever look at Sean on the Gulf's, like, first interviews he did right around when Natalie and Jen launched their op, in my opinion? Like Kevin, Yellow Cottage Tales, etc., etc. The circuit he did around then, just, there's too many, I'm not a coincidence theorist, there's too many coincidences in that, like, timeline. If you go back to April of 2023, you can put this whole case together. Even though Aiden wasn't charged until the fall of 2023, he was targeted in September of 2022. It took them like 7 months to come up with the plan, and then they acted on it, and it was ruthless. They planted people around him. I can't believe that they used those women that way. I've never seen anything like it. I've seen it in high-level intelligence stuff, in records and stuff. I've never seen them do it to a person, like in life. It was crazy. Some of those women who showed up out of nowhere in the fall of 2023 were plants from the beginning. It's obvious in hindsight, but dude, they had him cornered, and they had him cornered well. Ambush, thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you for your support. They had him cornered, and it was ruthless. We have there's a chance, I'm not a lawyer, it's not legal advice, there's a chance, not just on the Proctor stuff, but Aiden was probably targeted worse than Karen. So Karen, I know that when Karen went to Tom Beatty's house in February of 2022, she was being spied on already by a PI firm. Aiden, so she has, I think, some claims, in my opinion. I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. I did go to law school, though. Aiden was targeted way worse. What they did to him was a form of mental torture that I don't think, like, if he sued and won, first of all, we have to eradicate this private intelligence practice in the United States. It's becoming pervasive in the true crime arena, and it's really concerning. But yeah, they really did Aiden in. They did him very dirty. And what they did was evidence launder, in my opinion. So the goal was to get people close to Aiden so that they could get in his life and then take documents. It's just a classic op. Get in his life. It's like they may as well have broken into his damn home and copied his files. But that would look too much like a crime. So just get someone into his life, give them like a very specific role, tell them what they need to get, and have them effectuate the plan. And if one girl fails, send in another one. And whoever gets close to him gets the highest payoff. It's very simple when you understand it that way. And what they're doing is evidence laundering. It's classic evidence laundering. They, I think even the criminal cases were just evidence laundering to get derogatory information for the civil cases. But the point is they got busted. The ops blown. It was very nuanced. A lot of fake accounts. It was run out of circles in like Medford and Somerville. I don't think that's a coincidence. I'm sure Southie has something to do with it. But it was coordinated from Canton. And the point of it all was to get someone close to Aiden. They got the gold mine. I mean, they really, really hurt him by stealing that phone extraction, in my opinion. He may have consented, but not in the way that it was. He would never consent to it being evidence laundered and used against him. Thus, I believe that that was a PI operation. Classic. So, this case can't survive if that comes out. That's why everybody's panicking. They're freaked out. They really are. I'm watching them crash and burn. It's kind of funny. I had that stuff. I had it pegged from the beginning, though. I just had to wait to pounce on him. I figured it out. When did I figure it out? I think I put it all together in the winter of 2026. Because I had one thing I had to test. I had a theory as to who the puppet master was, and I wanted to freak him out. So, yeah. Anyway, this is all important information. So, winners focus on winners, losers focus on winners. Thank you, Christine. God bless you. Let's continue reading. All that's very important information in the context of this document, though, trust me. And I'm the only one who knows it, so you either get it from me or you don't get it. But yeah, I just wanted to let people know some things. Number 10. Proctor explained to the grand jury that the MSP did not attempt to intervene or stop the rolling rally, but that local towns were on standby to intervene in case of property being damaged. He conceded that no property damage occurred during the rally. Now that's another question I have. Were there any... We'll be back in a second. We're back. Frame drop. Have you ever heard of an agent provocateur? It's very common in France. When you see videos of like people burning France down, a lot of those are state agents that just want to make the protesters look bad. That's an agent provocateur. I am wondering if they had people there that were trying to encourage the crowd and others stopped them. I wasn't there. I didn't start following this case until the summer of 2023. When the first time Aiden used a bullhorn, so maybe the fall, actually. Maybe the summer. But I have no idea what happened at the rolling rally. I agree with you, Mom of Four, and the fact that Jen McCabe is... Ooh, flow state. Love a flow state. The fact that Jen... Thank you very much to... We are all mad here for that wonderful flow state. You can make things pop up above my head. I think the fact that Jen McCabe is friends with Meg Kennedy who was Sandra Birchmore's guidance counselor, and Meg Kennedy's husband was apparently in the Proctorgate messages. Come on. Come on. Oh, by the way, this hasn't been explored fully. I think Aiden should explore more. And Aaron. Oh, flow state. Thank you, Gen Toxic. Look at the flow state. How ridiculous is it that in 2013, this former Canton cop, who was very probably in the Proctorgate messages too, gets busted in a sex for hire sting, and then 2 or 3 months later, wouldn't you know it, him and Kevin Albert are hosting a fundraiser for none other than John O'Keefe's newly double orphaned niece and nephew. The man was hosting it at his gym in town. The very same gym that Michael Proctor and Yuri Buchanan have been going to. There are no coincidences. Someone was mad that Johnny was protecting those kids, and I'm going to find out why. Making me all mad. Hello, old swamp. Enjoy your towel wrench. And Jay, you can't convince me that you're not an agent provocateur. It is all connected. Alright, let's continue. Proctor testified that his involvement in the portion of the investigation that focused on a police dispatcher who was indicted alongside Carney for improperly accessing information and providing it to Carney. Okay, alright, so that charge was eventually dropped. That's Janelle Webb, if I recall. It had to do... No, what's weird is, what I think that had to do with was like Jen McCabe going to Michael Proctor's house. And like, I don't believe for a second that Michael Proctor, who is in a group chat with Jen McCabe's best friend's husband, apparently, didn't know Jen McCabe. I don't believe she was going there because she found out about Michael Proctor for the first time because of Aiden's articles. Nonsense. But that's what that was about. I think it was her car being outside Proctor's house and the plate being run. Wait, what? Although the dispatcher was indicted for providing information to Carney, which led Carney to report that Jennifer McCabe visited Proctor at his house on or about September 25th, 2023. All right, there we go. The dispatcher was never arraigned. Didn't she lose her job? So I don't understand. Thank you, Spacey Stacy. Welcome to the channel. So I don't understand. I thought they no-prossed it. Or I thought like a clerk magistrate denied, or like it just didn't allow it to move forward. They formally indicted her at a grand jury just to scare her and then never prosecuted her? Are they incompetent or malicious? Or both? So they just wanted... Because I bet they thought that a magistrate wouldn't PC it, rule there was probable cause. So they did it via felony indictment because it's easier to manipulate a grand jury. A grand jury is an ex parte proceeding where you don't get to go. You get to go in some states. I found that out yesterday. Not like, I think Arizona, maybe New Mexico, you get to go. New Mexico. You don't get to go in Massachusetts. It's ex parte. Just the prosecutor and the grand jury. In a magistrate hearing, so if you don't get charged by a grand jury in Massachusetts, you have to go through a magistrate hearing. That's called a probable cause hearing. They do it for felonies and misdemeanors, but not all felonies. You can't even use a grand jury for a misdemeanor. That is a adversarial proceeding. You have a right to go and have a lawyer and present evidence, but you don't have that right at a grand jury, which makes me think we got to reform the grand jury system in Massachusetts. It should be adversarial, just like New Mexico. I'll talk to some people. I can make laws happen. You'd be surprised. I just say I want a law to happen. It happens. It's great. Anyway, let's continue. So Proctor testified that he was involved. Oh, I see. So I think what Bettero's implying here is that the reason they never formally arraigned Janelle Webb is because that would have brought Proctor in. Because she was charged with conspiracy, if I recall, under 274-7. Conspiracy. So that would have brought Proctor in to the cases. Wait a minute. When did this? 2023? When did... Oh, you think Proctor told them? You think Proctor was like, oh, back in 2023, like, you got to get me out of these cases. Tripoli Bob, my dear friend, says, I don't know how picketing is a crime. It runs right up against the First Amendment. Yeah. And the, like, emotional damage portion of the... witness intimidation statute. I know it's been reviewed for constitutional legitimacy, but, like, I don't know. I gotta talk to some of the liberals up on Beacon Hill. I gotta find out what the leadership thinks about this to really tell you where people are at. If the litmus test comes back that they think this is dumb, then we could probably change it. Not right now. You can't change it mid... It would be like a bill of attainder. Not really, but it would be like a reverse bill of attainder if you did it like right now. And it takes like a year or two to do a bill. I know that one of the Republican reps or senators, Kelly Donner, I know she filed it. You can't get a bill passed that way. If you want a bill to get passed, it's gotta be from the leadership. Like the Senate, the way it works is the House of Representatives is the most powerful. So the Speaker is the most powerful because that's where financial bills originate. And then spending bills. And then the Senate is the next most powerful. And then the governor is less powerful than those two. So you can't get a bill passed with a Republican sponsor. It's not going to work. They just don't like it. It was so hard to get even like the revenge porn and coercive control bill done because Republicans really liked it. They will do bipartisan things, but it can't originate from a Republican. It can be co-sponsored, but it has to come from leadership or like a Democrat that's been there forever. So that's how we'll get that done. And I don't know how they feel. The liberals are generally pro-defense. So I think if the leadership actually had a conference about this and said, should we have emotional harm as part of the WI statute? The answer would be no. It's just they can't do it right now. And I don't frankly think anyone's brought it to their attention. And you can't do it through a Republican. I don't mean, like, I'm more sympathetic to Republicans than Democrats, obviously. But my point is, we're a supermajority state here. So if you try to do that through a Republican, the bill automatically dies. We have like 4 Republican reps out of 160 and 3 senators out of 40. You can't do anything. They get some stuff done, but it only works when they have a sponsor who's a Democrat. All right, but anyway, that's the point about this statute. This whole charge, really, it's going to be weird if like the trial does move forward and then the statute gets changed, which frankly is probably going to be the result of this because it was weaponized. It was just like a bullying tactic, frankly. All right, and don't even get me started on Gretchen Voss. My dear GV. As detailed so in this document, this fact alone shows the bad faith and lack of integrity of the investigation of Carney, which is true. Also, Tripoli Bob reminded me, I'm very bad at this, there are ways to support Towel Channel. Thank you all for your super chats and your support. There's also a pinned message that has a Cash App, a Venmo. If you want to buy me lunch for when I'm done, I'm going to hang out with Towel Girlfriend after this, watch some football. It doesn't start till 3. We're in the 3rd game of the group stages, so they kick off at the same time. It'll be a lot of football today. 6 matches, 3, 6, and 9 p.m. Eastern. In any event, there's Cash App, money sign Grant Smith Ellis, a Venmo at Grant-E1, and a PayPal, paypal.me/Grant Ellis. Hashtag buy towel lunch. All right, let's continue. All right, number 12. Proctor revealed for the grand jury his motive for being biased against Carney. Ooh, let's see what this says. Testifying that he was repeatedly and unjustifiably trashed by Carney as corrupt and conflicted. He's both of those things, in my opinion. The ever-defensive Proctor ironically claimed that he never had a complaint filed against him and that he was, quote, never the subject of an IA investigation. Proctor explained that, quote, I just did my job. I can't. That paragraph is dripping with so much sarcasm that the words are going to fall off the page. Bettero's a great lawyer. He's got to unblock me. I don't think he's realized I've had my, turn or whatnot. He's a very busy lawyer. He's going to be even more busy after the indictments of the NYPD than today. The point is, that paragraph is great. I love that paragraph. You want to talk about standing on business in a paragraph? That's Mark Betterow right there, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't look like it's taking shots. I mean, it is, but it's such a dry way. It's such a gentlemanly way of calling someone just the most, horrifying. It's like, remember when Kevin from Yellow Cottage, whatever, said, Tails or whatnot, said, that Michael Proctor was the cleanest cop in America. It's literally like the counter to that. Yeah, Betterow's very quick-witted. Very quick-witted. Constitutional lawyers. So a trial lawyer and a constitutional lawyer are the same thing often, but a constitutional lawyer is different than a criminal defense lawyer. They are a criminal defense lawyer, but they're kind of like, the super lawyer term got appropriated. A super lawyer is just someone who understands the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and every case that flows from every single section of the Bill of Rights and the Constitution and the various unenumerated rights that exist between the words in the Constitution. If you have one of those lawyers, you're the other side's screwed. You can't win. You just give up. I don't know why the state keeps even fighting this. Anyway, that's a great paragraph. I'm going to write this one up after the stream too. 13. Proctor's wife is a named victim. Is he still married to her? Proctor's wife is a named victim in one indictment against Carney for witness intimidation and will be a prosecution witness against Carney. The defense will offer context as to why Carney ever discussed or interacted with Proctor's wife. Obviously, that context will include evidence that Carney believed Proctor was corrupt, biased, and conflicted. I think her uncle hangs out with my mom or something, and that might explain how Proctor got hired at state police after not making it through the Boston police background check. Just a thought. My mom also got really mad. Literally, I haven't spoken to my mom in a long time. Months. As soon as I figured this all out. So that tells me it was a bag job. Because why would she take it out on me? Unless it was a bag job. So, that's life, though. My mother is Wendy Murphy. She started covering this case in 2023 as well. And it makes you wonder, Oh, thank you very much to the person who sent a donation. I'll click the heart as soon as I have a second. Makes you wonder, who recruited people for this? Because my mom, I don't know if you've ever looked into Wendy Murphy. She had a rapid ascent. She went from, living in the lake in Newton to Boston College to New England Law to the Middlesex DA's office to one of the most famous TV legal analysts of the 1990s, to the point where she was on page 6 because her and Dominic Barbera used to, understand, one time. Well, okay, just a pause here to catch my breath. We're 1/3 through this document. I think you all must understand. I think my mother is key to this. I don't know why, but just so you understand, growing up in the 90s, my mom would just be like, okay, we're going to go on a plane now. And then I would be in New York and I would meet Bill Donahue or whatnot. Sorry, we're having some frame drops. We're back. I would meet Bill Donahue or whatever, and I would sit in the audience, and then, my Nana would watch me on the TV. And I always thought that was very, very odd. Give me 1 second. Waiting for the stream to pick back up. There we go. And I always thought that was odd. It was very odd. Montel Williams gave me my first GameCube. I played a lot of Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2. And then I went out to LA one time. And, you know, we met, like, all these people. And my mom was on national TV all the time. I remember she used to go to New York to be on MSNBC, and I would watch her on the TV. And then I would point at the TV. Anyway, so I don't really understand why that happened. I have theories. I just think she's been working the whole time. For what purpose? I don't know. I think catch and kill's the most likely. Like, victims come to her thinking they're going to get help, but really, like, she just makes sure it goes away quietly unless they're, like, a victim who doesn't touch on, like, the system of power. Just my thought. Anyway, and then also, you know, I think I can talk about this a little now. There's something weird about the fact that I was raised by Swedish nannies until, like, 1997. And then as soon as the Louise Woodward and Christina Hormer cases happened, my nannies went away. And then I was raised by an American babysitter. So, and I always thought it was weird, because my dad, we would get a different Swedish nanny every year. But all of them were like 19-year-old blonde women. They were very beautiful. They were very nice to me. They weren't very good nannies. You know, they taught me Swedish. But they were all very beautiful blonde women. And I always thought that was a little weird. So maybe there's some kind of club. Maybe they moved these girls around through, like, maybe it was au pair agencies in the 90s. Maybe it's telemarketing firms now. Modeling agencies. Who the hell knows? I don't know. I just think, you know, I'm a Tao. Anyway, let's continue. That was your break, by the way. Reading a full document in a row is not always that fun. And plus, you learn interesting things. And maybe that explains why my mom got involved in all this. Who the hell knows? All right. Where are we now? All right. On October 27, 2025, the defense submitted a supplemental affidavit containing additional facts in support of the first motion. This submission included additional evidence establishing that Proctor was involved in the investigation of Carney, including recently discovered emails sent by Sergeant Buchanan to Proctor on July 28th and 29th of 2023, which contains attachments titled McCabe Harassment and Albert Harassment. Well. I think I knew that, but that's a good refresher. So, were you doing that as a friend to these people who, according to Jen McCabe, didn't know Michael Proctor at all before all this? Or were you doing that because you wanted it investigated by your colleagues at the state police? In his July 28th and 29th, 2023 emails to Proctor, Sergeant Buchanan specifically sought Proctor's investigative input about the McCabe and Albert harassment reports. Ooh. And asked Proctor if anything needed to be fixed in the reports. What an interesting choice of words. 17 minutes after he sent Proctor the McCabe report, Sergeant Buchanan sent Proctor an updated and more accurate version of the report. 10 minutes after he sent Proctor the Albert report, Sergeant Buchanan sent Proctor an updated report. Let me see if I can. That's a lot of. Let me see if I can understand what that means. So, Buchanan asked Proctor if anything needs to be changed in Buchanan's report. Then, 17 minutes later, Buchanan sent Proctor an updated and more accurate version of the report. And then 10 minutes after he sent Proctor the Albert report, Sergeant Buchanan sent Proctor an updated report. So we have an updated report and then a subsequently updated report, if I'm reading that correctly. And it can't be a typo because they're two different minute intervals. So if I understand it, Proctor helped with 2 revisions of the report. And remember, this all has to do with whether or not Proctor was part of the investigative team, which then determines if Aidan Carney gets access to Michael Proctor's messages, which would blow Proctor. I mean, you think Proctorgate's a big deal now? Give Aidan those messages, especially with the ability to have motions with them included unimpounded. And even if he gets them under impoundment, eventually the case is going to end. Impoundment orders, as we know from the federal materials, can continue beyond a case, but I don't see that happening here. Not after how Judge Doolin ruled on the Miles King unimpounded motion to dismiss, or the motion to unimpound the motion to dismiss, the supplemental motion to dismiss from Rosemary Scapiccio. All right. That was a complicated paragraph, though, but I think I understand it. 17. To date, the Commonwealth has not responded to the October 24th, 2025 defense motion. That's right. That's right. What are they doing? Why shouldn't this be granted? Sherry, my pleasure. Sherry says, thank you for explaining. I'm happy to do so. Wait a minute. I mean, all of the other arguments in this document are going to be important and are important. But why is this not the winning argument? And why hasn't this been ruled on? I don't know. Something doesn't strike me right about what? If they haven't responded, it's unopposed. So give him the documents. It's October 2025. It's been 8 months. I know Robert Cosgrove isn't the quickest, speediest typer, but come on now. I thought that this was like a supplemental response to the state's opposition. Why are we even arguing this if there's no opposition? Why hasn't this been ruled on? Is Betterow trying to bring this to the attention of the court again? Is he like, Judge, gets up? I don't know how to explain this to you. This baffles me. Has Cosgrove... Is this like a situation where a ship captain abdicates his duties and then the ship is just uncaptained, so you take the ship over? No. In reality, it's an unopposed motion. And it should be styled as such. I don't understand. What is this whole case collapsing? Ken Mello got criminally charged, the former prosecutor. At least one potential witness, Kate Peter, is facing criminal charges. Like felony, WI, all this other stuff. Robert Cosgrove, for all intents and purposes, is MIA. I haven't seen a document other than the Taint Team document coming over, but that was more the Taint Team's job. I haven't seen Cosgrove file a document in months. You think because Morrissey knows it's over and Deitch is going to win, he's just given up? And we're going to find out at this next hearing. I mean, I doubt it. You're... I don't think they have any other option. Honestly, I'll read more of this, and but I think the defense has them. I think the power structure is collapsing in Norfolk County. And I think Aiden's case exists only to the extent that power structure has the ability to manipulate the system. And all the dominoes are falling. Clerk Jim's gone. All the troopers are resigning. Morrissey's going to lose. Deitch is... the field polls must be outrageous. I would imagine he's polling 70-80% for the primary. It's in 3 months. Judge Krupp can't really help him. They're between a rock and a hard place. And they have a losing argument, too. They got to... All right, so you want to know just up to here, if I were reading this as the Norfolk DA and Cosgrove... oh, Ms., you can absolutely have a towel wrench. God bless you. Thank you for being a member of the LJ. You want to know how I would discuss this? Just to this point. This is what I would sit around and be saying to them if they were talking to me. I would say, okay, You have two choices. You fight this, you lose, and he gets those 200,000 messages. You drop it, he gets none of the messages. Pick your poison. Brilliant. Brilliant. I think he's got him. I mean, they're going to face a really tough choice. It's a fait accompli, basically. They're like very... They have two... It's a binary choice. I'll spell it out again. If the Norfolk DA, through Robert Cosgrove, fights this and wants to bring it to trial, Aiden is getting those messages. Especially with the Irish comment. Expect a renewed motion with the Irish comment, because that goes to bias by Proctor against Aiden, who's Irish. You only have two choices. You fight it and you bring it to trial, he will get those messages. I would say this to them. He's going to get them. It's not a question. Similarly situated defendant got them. He's going to get them. Or you drop it and he doesn't get them. Do you want him to have them or not? And it's a zero-sum equation. He's going to get them eventually. The public is. But do you want him to get them early or when the public gets them? And remember, Aiden, the messages are only as good as your ability to read them. Everyone's going to bring a different perspective and knowledge base and know what the messages mean in different ways. There's nicknames, code, all this stuff in there, slang terms, slurs. So this is what I would be saying to them. I'm not kidding you. I would say you have two choices. And I would also say you have a losing argument on the... You have a losing... First of all, what the hell are you doing? You can't... You have to, like, S or get off the pot in the parlance. You have to decide. You can't just not respond. What are you doing? You're going to look foolish. You already look foolish. Respond. Either assent, oppose, or take no position. But what you're doing now makes you look dumb and incompetent. And then I would also say, you gotta pick. You have to commit to what you're gonna do. This situation is, you're pretending it's gonna go away. It's not gonna go away. It's gonna get worse. And how many public humiliation rituals do you want to put the special prosecutors through? You know, how much reputation can you trade on before it's just... And what's the point, frankly? What is the point of doing this? I don't even get what the Norfolk DA's strategy or end game is here. So, we'll keep reading. But yeah, they're in a they have no argument on the merit. When I say they have no argument, I'm not analyzing their argument and saying it's bad. I'm saying they have not put forth an argument to oppose this. On June 11th, 2026, on June 11th, 2026, so that was last month, on May 8th, 2026, motion filed by the defense, so Carney, in the Miles, no, not Carney, pause, we're going over to the Miles King case now, apropos, because that's where the Proctorgate files came from. On June 11th, 2026, on May 8th, 2026 motion, filed by the defense in the Miles King case, was unsealed. That's attached as Exhibit B. This motion also contained dozens of messages establishing Proctor's poor character, lack of credibility, lack of professionalism, and his unfitness for duty as a police officer. I would say that's very, very true. It has become a weekly drop. Sherry, that's such a good insight. Hello, Robin Hood. Good to see you. It has become a weekly drop, and I said this the other day. You know, in the modern media landscape, stories are not... It used to be like the news cycle was like a week in the days of the papers. And Watergate, something like that, would go for like a few months, maybe a few years at the most. The news cycle now 4 hours at most. And somebody geniusly figured out that they had to slow drip this. The secrecy around it became the weapon. And it got slow dripped. And it's working. It's keeping the story in the public consciousness, and it's going to get bigger. The national networks are starting to pick up on this, but I don't think I saw Brian Enton doing some coverage of it. I don't think any of the national networks understand the scope of Proctorgate. It will become Proctorgate. It's bigger than almost any scandal that we've seen in many, many years. It touches a lot of criminal cases. It's not just like a Mark Furman OJ situation. It's institutional rot attempting to throw Proctor under the bus. And the question becomes, will he go down with the ship like a good soldier, or will he, I'll leave that option off the table, or will he cooperate? It's unfortunate. That's why listen. They tell people as kids not to play games in that world, not to get involved with the criminal underworld, not to do it, like, no matter where you get in life, because you will pay the piper. You'll either pay it with your soul, you'll pay it with restless nights, you'll pay it with blackmail, you'll pay it with, like, favors being owed, or you'll pay it with, so there used to only be 2 ways out of that life. Now there's a third. I don't know what you want me to tell you. There used to be honor, No civilians, no kids, no women. I don't know what the hell this is, but there's no honor to it. Yeah, I'm talking about the cops, by the way. They learned a lot of tricks, mostly from the IC. People think it's from the OC, but it's the IC. What do you think OC is? All OC is the IC operating like at a lower level. Paramilitary. You think we need a paramilitary black hand? No. Come on now. It was just one division of the OSS that happened to be a little more effective at wet work. And then they, after the breakup in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, especially in Boston, I guess they didn't become street crews, they became cops. And I know exactly who enabled them. Someone asked if I think the Proctors are the descendants of the people from the witch trials. I don't know. The Goods were in there too. Who knows? I've heard a lot of families in the area go back a long time, but I don't know. My family were Lithuanian Jews who got chased out of Europe by the Russian pogroms and had to come here. Then the immigration officer couldn't pronounce their last name, so he was like, okay, you can be Ellis. And I was like, okay, that's cool. We'll take it. All right, we're going to keep reading. If you have any questions, I will take them. We're halfway through this document. But I think you understand my perspective. We're going to get more of the legal argument now. This is the part I was waiting for. Why the revelations in the Proctorgate documents from the Miles King case buttress Aiden's argument for access to those documents. Hopefully the Irish thing's in there. If not, it will probably have to be supplemented. Oh, Sweet Nothing says it's like the town of Canton is connected to something bigger. Yeah. What do they say? Don't use the bathroom where you eat? I don't know nothing about nothing. I don't know what you're talking about. Proctor's communications eviscerate his credibility. That's the heading of this section. 20. Proctor is a disgraced former MSP trooper who was terminated for pervasive misconduct, which included footnote 2. Proctor's lack of the character required for an unbiased police officer was detected by the Boston Police Department, which rejected his application for employment after conducting a background check on him. Predictably, the racist Proctor blamed his rejection on an, quote, absolute C-word, rag, N-word, who had it in for him. Exhibit A, paragraph 33. The unanswered question is whether the MSP and Norfolk County DA's office were aware of Proctor's shocking bigotry and emotional instability when he was hired by the MSP and entrusted by the DA to conduct serious criminal investigations. Now, why is this so relevant? Well, it's relevant in Karen's lawsuit, obviously, against the MSP and whatnot for negligent hiring and retention of Proctor, but why is it relevant here? Think about what negligence is as a standard and what Betterow is arguing. I'm not a lawyer, this is not legal advice. You don't have to show constructive knowledge of something for there to be evidence that the state police should have known about Proctor's misconduct. To argue that, you have to show that there's a duty in the hiring process, ideally prescribed by statute or regulation. Ruby, welcome to the channel. Ideally prescribed or required, a duty imposed by statute or regulation. Why do we want that? Because it's a shortcut to breach, but that's not relevant in this context, but it is important. Well, it's important in every negligence context. Okay. Now, if they have a duty, the state police, to do certain things during the hiring process, the Detectives Bureau, by the way, does the hiring screening for the state police. Then, in turn, that duty means that if there's derogatory information that another agency of law enforcement had discovered about Proctor that led to him not being hired at that agency, you can argue that the state police retained Michael Proctor for employment or hired him in a situation where they knew or should have known that he was not capable or disqualified by his own actions of serving in that position. Voila. You had a duty, you breached the duty. It's easier to breach a duty when it's prescribed by statute or regulation. And then your breach of the duty was directly the cause of Proctor being in a position to act on his disfavorable inclinations, morally and otherwise, through his official position. And that's why it's important. Betterow wouldn't put it here if it were extraneous. He's putting it there because he's going to go, I don't know where it's going to, I don't understand how negligent retention of Proctor buttresses the argument for access to his material, but Betterow doesn't put things in motions for no reason. He only has a certain number of pages, so. Although, one time, see, Betterow practices in New York, where you can do, New York's cool, but it's cool and not cool. You can do a lot more in New York pre-trial. You can do like letters to the judge. You can file things as like conjoined motions, which we also have, but you can style motions as affidavits. It's just very different. Betterow does it here, and on the whole, it's been accepted. But Betterow doesn't waste words. Whatever he's doing, he doesn't just throw things in documents, and he certainly wouldn't throw something in there that's not going to be the foundation of an argument, a legal argument. But I can't tell you because I don't know. This is a very obscure thing to even think about. I don't understand the implications of Proctor's negligent hiring and retention by MSP to the operative issue in this motion, which is whether Aiden should get access to Proctor's communication. But hopefully Betterow will tell us. All right. 20. We are on page 6 of 17, by the way. You can find this on Kyle Sharkey, the excellent Kyle Sharkey's Twitter. That's where I got it from. Proctor is a disgraced former MSP trooper who was terminated for pervasive misconduct, which included, and then we did the footnote, sending, quote, derogatory, defamatory, disparaging, and or otherwise inappropriate text messages about a subject in an investigation. How about subjects? Providing sensitive and or confidential investigative steps in the investigation to non-law enforcement personnel. Through his unprofessional and inappropriate conduct, created an image that he was biased with a criminal suspect, and for bringing the MSP and himself into disrepute. Conduct unbecoming. Hilarious. That's what the MSP was concerned with. Yes, oh yeah, I'm sure. They had no idea about the Klansmen, apparently. Listen, Proctor himself said he wanted to set up a cross on the Arboretum and burn it with White Hood. So, I didn't even know we had the Klan. You know, I understand we had the John Birch Society, you know, in the area. But the Klan? The Klan? I didn't even think the Klan was a thing. I was convinced NSC 131 was just the SPLC. Michael Proctor's forced me to change my entire frame of reference. He's got me convinced that we have the Klan in Massachusetts. But my point is not... it makes the MSP look really bad. I know Governor Healy... See, here's the thing. Sometimes you gotta turn lemons into lemonade. Alright? That's what happened with the Cannabis Control Commission. Governor Healy's now in charge of that, all right? And you gotta turn lemons into lemonade. Wasn't the best situation. Probably not still a great situation. But, you know, you don't take the fall for Deb Goldberg doing dumb things and Sean Collins. You know, you point out who the problem is. Oh, look at the soccer ball! Oh my goodness, it's a soccer ball. It's a trophy. It was a bouncing ball and a trophy. That was great. Thank you so much to Karen D. Hello, Michelle. Welcome. Also, let me get back to my example. Oh, no, I did not forget my example. Oh, no, I did not forget it. I was really enjoying that. Hold on. I'm going to listen to myself so I can remember.
Was hard. You got me drinking.
Hold on. We need to go live 1 second. I was really enjoying that. Hold on. I'm going to listen. Michael Proctor's forced me to change my entire frame of reference. He's got me convinced that we have the Klan in Massachusetts. Oh, that's right. So, you know, I did not know. I am now convinced that it's possible we actually have the Klan here. And I mean, I thought we were beyond that. I really did. I don't know what to say. Listen, all I know is if we have the Klan here and they've been riding around and burning crosses, I haven't seen them. They're doing it in secret. They must be underground or something, literally, because I haven't seen them. And I think I would know. Well, now that I think about it, maybe they're just really good at hiding in plain sight. I don't think it's a Klan, though. I think, so, that's a very simple explanation for a complex problem. The best I can understand, this is truly, and I don't mean fascist in the well, I guess I do. It's truly black shirt, neo-fascist behavior. It really is. It strikes me there's a little bit of Italian in it, truly, and then there's a little bit of English in it. It's this aristocratic neo-fascist movement. That's the only way I can understand it. And I'm not talking about 8chan and stuff like that. It's something deeper. It's this apologia for these are the kind of people, in my opinion, who would have believed in phrenology. Studying races by the shape of their heads. That's the only way I can explain it. And then trying to legitimize it as a science. And then trying to get in positions within the government. And it's not a left-wing or right-wing thing. It's not. It's this thing outside the American political spectrum. It's like the people who went to the Madison Square Garden in the 30s for those rallies. Under the auspices of isolationism. I don't think they were actually isolationists. I think they were, neo-fascists, to put it lightly. I think they would have marched on Rome in black shirts, put it that way. I think they would have marched on Poland and Czechoslovakia and France and Belgium, and the north of Africa. Let's put it that way. Hello, T.A. Sarah. Some of those that burn crosses are the same that work forces. Michael Proctor really gives a new name. We got to talk to the Rage Against the Machine guy and tell him to play a concert and just put Michael Proctor's text messages behind him when he's playing that song. And then when he says the line, some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses, put up the freaking message about Proctor and his buddies wanting to go to the Arboretum and wear white hoods and burn crosses. And just be like, I was right, bro. I was right. That man deserves that moment. Hashtag shout out Rage Against the Machine. Alright, continuing. But this isn't a left or right thing. Let me be clear. I think Republicans and Democrats, and this is true to form, are both upset about this, which means this is outside the political spectrum. Whatever this group is, whatever this ideology is, it doesn't belong to Republicans. It's not like a faction that ran wild. It's not like the Democrats alienated these people and they became like extremists. No. This is some like weird, like sub-level, like subhuman ideology that exists among a certain group of people and permeates throughout our cultural ethos in silence because they're too embarrassed to defend their positions in public because they'd rightfully be chased down the street with pitchforks and torches. Cowards. Intellectual cowards, too. That's what makes it so frustrating. You don't have the cojones to stand up there and defend your position, so you got to do it in silence and subvert my damn democratic institutions. Don't mean Democratic Party, I mean my representative government, so that you can be freaking neo-fascist. That's disgusting. If you can't win in the field of ideas and in the public forum, leave. Leave America. And if you worship Baal, leave America. And if you buy prostitutes, leave America. And if you hurt kids, leave America. There's 400 million of us. You can't stop us all. And I'm pretty sure Iran's got our back. Oddly, Iran became the hero in all this against the Epstein class and the Khashoggi class. Give me back my damn paintings. Adnan Khashoggi stole my paintings from the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in 1990 to try to get leverage to reduce his federal prison sentence. You don't understand. Then he got found not guilty and my paintings were taken. They belonged to the people of Massachusetts. And then Khashoggi handed his blackmail ring down to Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. And then Ghislaine Maxwell's dad died on Khashoggi's old yacht, which he disgustingly named the Nabia after his youngest daughter. I'm all mad. Watch, I promise you though. Mark my words, write this down, clip it. It will be attested to in the history books. What we all stumbled onto, inadvertently or otherwise, is a ring of Gestapo operatives that were working with high-level drug traffickers and human traffickers to infiltrate silently our institutions of representative democracy to hurt children and the animals. I saw that doggy video in the Epstein files. It made me really mad. And they used our financial institutions and they used our government against us in order to get away with their horrific crimes. But that ends. And this case, mark my words, all of them together, Tiffany Overstreet, Sandra Birchmore, Karen Reed, Aiden TurtleBoy Carney, will go down in the history books, if not now, within the next few years, as having exposed it all. And it took the Epstein files in complement with these specific cases in this specific state at this specific time in this specific moment to make it happen. That's my opinion. We're going to get them. By the way, why did Carmen Ortiz file federal charges against the 2 police officers in Stoughton who were above Robert Devine before he became deputy chief and then was able to effectuate his plan to link the Police Explorers program with Learning for Life and then take over my institutions of government? You ask those questions? Those are the real questions. I'm so mad at Carmen Ortiz because of what she did to Aaron. She's got blood on her hands. I know what you did, Miss Ortiz. Making me all mad. There's a reason she never became Senator Ortiz. Yes. Yup. Damn right. That's where Elizabeth Warren came from. Carmen Ortiz didn't even get to run. And now I know the real reason. Sorry, Sue. It does get me mad. Gets me all riled up. It is all connected, though. Mark my words. They're hiding Proctorgate for a reason, and it's not because Michael Proctor's a very virulent bigot. I wish I could say that my institutions of government are so appalled by Michael Proctor's virulent bigotry that they engaged in a systemic cover-up over like a decade. Nope. Sorry, not happening. They were patroning brothels and doing drugs, and I'm gonna get them. I told the Congress. I named names. What are you gonna do about it? Rep Luna retweeted me. How about them apples? All right, let's continue. Proctor is an equal opportunity bigot. What is the word for that literary device? When you put words that have they're antonyms. Equal opportunity and bigot are like antonyms in what they mean. When you put them next to each other and then change what they mean to imply a new thing, that's great. We got better over here at reinventing the English language. 10 out of 10. Proctor is an equal opportunity bigot. When he wrote that, he was probably like, I'm a genius. The messages released by Reed and King expose him as a virulent racist, a white supremacist, a misogynist, a sexual predator, and an anti-Semite. Whoa! Well, you know, I mean, he's not wrong. I mean, now that I think about it, you know, we didn't actually see, they must be like audio recordings. We didn't see the messages in Exhibit B from Rosemary Scapiccio about, you know, the oxymoron. An oxymoronic palindrome vis-a-vis an antonym. Or well-situated antonyms. Oh, I lost my place again. I'm going to watch back. Hold on. The benefit of live replay. Hold on. The messages released by Reed and King expose him as a virulent racist, a white supremacist, a misogynist, a sexual predator, and an anti-Semite. Whoa! Well, you know. Oh, that's right. We didn't really talk about the messages that Proctor wrote that were of a sexual nature. They're disgusting. And, I mean, it's tough to argue with Mr. Bettero's categorization of Mr. Proctor as a predator because he said things, you know, that implied, well, I don't know how to explain this in a way that's not morally reprehensible, but Proctor wanted to he wanted to obtain access to places that he should not have access to while people were sleeping because the woman would not give him access to such places unless she was sleeping. So, yeah, that's the best way I can explain it. In short, these messages demonstrate that Proctor was never qualified to serve as a police officer. Proctor's communications, footnote 3. 3. Proctor shared his opinions and inappropriate comments with high school friends or at least one member of the Canton Police Department, his MSP supervisors, and other public servants. It is essential to know who else received, responded, or otherwise condoned these messages. I agree. Proctor's communications with the MSP, DA's office, and possible communications with other witnesses against him, including members of the Albert and McCabe families. Why didn't you put Kate Peter? Put Kate Peter. Oh, well, come on, Mr. Bettero. Swing for the fences. To the extent they exist, are discoverable and relevant to Carney. Now, listen. Normally, I would say don't swing for the fences. But here, if you shoot for the moon, you're going to land among the stars. Not the literal stars. I'd call them more like deflated Shreks. But the point is, shoot for the moon, Mr. Bettero. Shoot for the moon. Throw in the Discord server. Come on, you got Morrissey linking to the Discord server that Kate was running for these people. Go for the home run. And then on top of that, you got to think about, I would put my mother in there, frankly. You know, let's play hardball, Mr. Betterow. Trust me, you really want to play hardball? Throw Wendy Murphy in there. Let's do it. You know, Kate Peter did start talking to her in like 2024. I got the text message. Somebody published it on Twitter. Why Kate told someone she was talking to my mom back then, I don't know. But anyway, hashtag include Wendy Murphy. All right, let's continue. Got us. They got us. No, I'm kidding. It was just a frame drop. Obviously. We're back. Hello. You can't stop, towel. I'm a towel. Don't worry, the buffering should be fixed now. You can't stop, towel. I'm a towel. Anyway, that was an interesting time for things to go down. You're a wonderful towel, girlfriend. I just wanted to let you know that. I adore you. Let's continue. Proctor's communications reveal an incomprehensible degree of hatred and bias towards communities he was sworn to protect. In addition to their repulsive content, Proctor's communications disturbingly reveal the ease and comfort in which he matter-of-factly and proudly shares his raging prejudice with others. A small sample of the dozens of wildly inappropriate messages released by Reed and King follow. See, generally, Exhibit A, Paragraph 5, 7 through 8, 11 through 12, 31 through 33, 35 through 38, Exhibit B, Paragraphs 4 through 8, 12 through 13. 23. Proctor believes that black people are subhuman property whose only value is to serve him. What? That's the most devastating line I've ever seen in a legal motion. Oh, I mean, it's true. I mean, that's a hell of a sentence. I mean, wow. If I were Judge Belzios reading this, I would be sitting here like this. I'd have it up on my screen. He'd probably use a tablet. And I would have my cigar. And after every paragraph, I would just start yelling things. Not in a bad way against Betterow. You know, I've heard of a cop a time or two, you know, in my studies or various traversals, doing something like having a search warrant for, like, the 3rd floor and going to the 1st floor. As a judge, you're going to read that and be like, you moron. Look, you moron. Who trained you? Because you got to throw the search out. It has to describe the particular time and place. By about page 3 of this motion, if I were Judge Belzios, I would be like, I would just sit there, actually, you know. I would put my head in my hands, and I would be like, all right, the whole system has failed. I'm not sure why I'm a judge. I don't get the point of this anymore. Who brought me into this? Why am I doing this? You can't, there's no, judges will try to give you the benefit of the doubt as a cop if you're going after someone that they think you should be going after. They will. They'll find a reason to uphold what you did. On like page 3, I don't care if this judge was born in the cradle with Michael Proctor and hiding it and went to every brothel on the east coast of Massachusetts. I'm not saying any judge involved in this did this, okay? But I'm just saying, even that judge, with a gun to his head, metaphorically, would probably have to be like, I cannot at all give you any friendly rulings. None. Zero. And none at all. Even if the judge tried to consume nothing in the media, anywhere. The judge would be like, the record before me is so bad that you need to, what do you want me to do with this? If they were meeting over like drinks, if he's having drinks with Michael Morrissey at the Marina up in Quincy, no one did this. I'm just saying, if that happened, what are you supposed to say? I'd be like, you screwed up. You screwed up. And if you can't get them to fall on their swords, you all go down together. Captain goes down with his ship. Good luck. I don't know you. We've never met. Who are you? Proctor repeatedly dehumanizes a black person as it. That's true. Proctor deems it acceptable for white supremacists like himself to arbitrarily kill black people at will. That's also true. And this is devastating. I mean, I read them, but I didn't have to describe them for a judge. I just had to read them and kind of be horrified. Betterow actually had to write it up, and it's worse when you read it like this. At least twice, while an active duty state police trooper, Proctor openly endorsed the killing of innocent N-words. On another occasion, Proctor encouraged another law enforcement officer not to respond to a motor vehicle accident because the victim was a, quote, N-word, and it was better to, quote, let them die. That was Sean Good, who Proctor was messaging. And Sean Good, what makes it worse, is Sean Good was on duty in Canton. And Proctor was like, if you're on duty, don't bother going to respond. Just let him die. That is in the next coming days. You know what? Honest, that's a good question. I believe both Michael Proctor and Karen are being deposed soon. I don't know who's first, but Proctor's could be as soon as like tomorrow. I'm pretty sure. And remember, we have a 9:45 a.m. hearing in the Karen Reed case, the civil case, related to depositions and updates related thereto on Friday, June 26th at 9:45 a.m. Eastern Time. That would be, 3:45 p.m. in South Africa, 4:45 p.m. in Tel Aviv, Israel, and 5:15 p.m. in Tehran, Iran. Because obviously people in those countries, in particular South Africa, need to know exactly when that hearing is going to occur. My pleasure, Honest. You might be right, Sue. You might be right. I don't know the exact dates. There's a lot of dates for depositions, and there's a lot of motions to compel. Not as to Karen's deposition, I don't think, but specifically related to like Nicole Albert, Brian Albert, Jen McCabe, Matt McCabe, Brian Tully. A lot of people are not going to their depositions. Colin Albert, as we know. All right, next question. Next paragraph. Paragraph 24. In one revolting message Proctor sent to his group of like-minded bigots, Proctor expressed his plan on, quote, tying up a N-word and dragging him from Proctor's bumper through the streets of Randolph. That's true. Proctor did say that. Footnote 4. This vile message assuredly was a reference to the sickening murder of James Byrd, a black man who was chained to a vehicle by white supremacists and dragged for 3 miles in Jasper, Texas in 1998. Wow, Betterow. Listen, I was only like 9. I did not know about that. That's a very sad case. Are you kidding me? Proctor was making a reference? Oh my. I want to write this up right now. God bless Mr. Betterow. You know, him and I got to have some kind of, I don't know what I said. I probably said something ridiculous on Twitter back in the day. He's got to understand. I figure things out my own way. It's the way of the towel. I work on it. I'm a towel. All right. I got to write this up. This is very, very bad. All right, so let me go up here. I got to screenshot it. What's the best way to do it? I guess I'll zoom out a little bit. Hold on. If I'm going to write it up, I got it. This one definitely needs to be written up. It's very bad. Now, if you've never been on these streams before, what I like to do sometimes is when I find something that's horrifically egregious, I like to actually write it up while we're live. I feel it's important to let the public know. and I'm disgusted. Well, I'm glad that Mark Betterow brought this to the court's attention, but I'm disgusted. I'm very offended and hurt. Because I do a lot of searching in documents for links, and like I'll Google the dates that Proctor says things, but I could not figure out what that was in reference to. So I'm just gonna get the source file over here from Cal, and I'm gonna post it now. New. Mark Betterow, the lawyer for journalists. Eden was very complimentary of my work recently. I'm very kind. I'm very indebted and grateful to him for that. Has revealed that one of the horrifying Proctorgate messages sent by Michael Proctor may have been a reference to the abhorrent killing of James Byrd in Texas in 1998. I am disturbed by the level of Michael Proctor's depravity. Source, page, 8 of 17. I like to be precise with my citations. I like to let people know where I find things and things of that nature. But yeah, this one is bad. Very bad. That's probably one of the worst references. I've seen them reference in those Proctorgate messages other things, but this is one of the worst references. So I'm going to publish a post about this. There's other things I want to write up. I also, if anyone has, I think Aiden might have posted it, if anyone has a link to the unredacted motion to dismiss, we can do that as well. I'm willing to stay live until about, 2 o'clock, and then I would like to go hang out with Towel Girlfriend. But yeah, so if anyone has the unredacted motion to dismiss, I'm also willing to read that. I think I saw Aiden post it. I can track down the link, but if anyone has it and you want to drop it in chat, we can go to that document next. As you can see, I like to do an in-depth reading of documents. I like to analyze every line, and I like to really pull apart the various arguments and references. All right, let's continue. Randolph, a town in Norfolk County that Proctor, quote, unfortunately knows all too well, was, according to Proctor, a, quote, complete S-hole filled with N-words, quote, no good N-words. Judge Belzios is from Canton, that's right. Hello, Aaron. How are you doing? Oh, Dan, that's very interesting. Dan lets us know Judge John Stevens prosecuted the Texas Dragon case. His court has a YouTube channel. Oh, that's very cool. Thank you for that. I always appreciate when judges make their courtrooms accessible when possible, depending on the circumstances. Family court, no, we don't need it. Juvenile court, no, we don't need it. Certain matters that legitimately involve various information that's, whatever. We don't need it. But like some things, criminal matters, etc., I think there's a good argument for broadcasting them. There's a great judge in Texas who broadcasts all of his criminal hearings, Judge Fletcher, I want to say, Fleischer. He's great. I have seen him on so many. Now, he's tough. You don't want to go in there and like be on a probation violation. Like, you test positive for anything you're not supposed to be on, he's putting you in jail. But listen, I've seen him go up there during a probable cause hearing, which are public in Texas, and say to a defendant, stop talking. And then he looks at the prosecutor and the cop and he's like, what was this guy doing? And the prosecutor would be like, oh, he was walking across the street, he had his hand in his pocket, and then the officer stopped him and he found half an ounce of weed. I saw Judge Fleischer look at this prosecutor and go, so walking while black? And the prosecutor was like, and Judge Fleischer was like, no, you don't come into my courtroom because an officer stopped someone because they were walking across the street and had their hand in their pocket and then patted them down because they were black and had weed in their pocket, and you bring a half an ounce of weed charge to me on that basis? No probable cause. Get out of my courtroom. It was great. He scolded them in open court, too. He was like, don't ever do this again. He's telling him straight up, I'll deny the PC and embarrass you. But he's a tough judge. You don't want to mess. Listen, I don't care where you are in Texas. Liberal county, conservative county, you don't want to mess with Texas judges. They're very serious. Same thing with Kentucky. A lot of those southern states, it's not a game. Up here, we're very liberal, very pro-defense. But down there, no. Good luck. You can scream about the Constitution as they're hauling you into jail. You might get out a few days after that. Depends on what the case is. Different way of administering justice. In another message, Proctor reasoned to his fellow white supremacist friends that if you see a N-word, just kill it. Exhibit B, page 4. Proctor embraced the random assault of black people in Canton, another town in Norfolk County. He advocated for Punch a N-word day in Canton today out of retribution. Any that's a slur. I don't know. It's a bad slur. It starts with S and ends with E. I won't say it. You see, blast it in the face. Again, referring to black people as it. Exhibit A, paragraph 36. T.A. Sarah, you're always on time. 70 million bonus points to T.A. Sarah, just for being T.A. Sarah. We have a final eventually in this non-existent class, and T.A. Sarah is going to administer it. It's about everything we've ever covered on the stream. You have 3 hours. I don't want to get into the qualifications. It's a tough test. Talk to T.A. Sarah about it. She gives out the bonus points. So even if you do bad, you can use your bonus points. Proctor's racism is so extreme that he fantasized about being a member of the Ku Klux Klan. That's true. Expressing to his friend Cookie his wish to get horses, white sheets, and burn a cross in the Arboretum. Exhibit B, page 4. Because, that's of course what regular people or state troopers are thinking about. Going to the Arboretum, where the trees are, and burning crosses. In addition to being an extreme racist, Proctor appears to be a neo-Nazi. Well, cutting right to the chase there, Mr. Betterow does not mince words, I'll tell you what. Some people might say things like, there is an aura or ethos of pervasive neo-fascism undergirding much of Mr. Proctor's rhetoric. Not Mr. Mark Betterow. And you gotta love it. Mr. Betterow says, in addition to being an extreme racist, Proctor appears to be a neo-Nazi. Full stop, period. That'll get the judge's attention. I didn't know Mr. Betterow... Well, not that I would ask, but I didn't know Mr. Betterow was Jewish, to our girlfriend. That certainly does add a component to it. But I should say, the anti-Semitic remarks made by Mr. Proctor certainly stand alone in their abhorrence. I think... So my family's half Jewish. I think I was definitely offended by them. I think it hits more home for people who are members of the suspect class or subject class in question. There's no doubt about it. I mean, when you read a word that, like, you could imagine Proctor saying about you, it hits home differently. So, yeah, I can understand that very much. Mr. Betterow, though, to his credit, you can't let it get the best of you. You can't just be virulent to respond. You must retain your composure, even though you're going to hit him hard. And that's what he did here. My pleasure, T.A. Sarah. You enjoy those bonus points. And 74 billion bonus points to Towel Girlfriend Nikki. She's wonderful. All right. In one repulsive anti-Semitic rant, Proctor expressed to fellow disgraced former Canton Police Department Sergeant Sean Good his disappointment in America, which Proctor said sucked because our nation's defeat of Nazi Germany, quote, ruined Adolf Hitler's plans to exterminate Jewish people. Shockingly, Proctor did actually say that. Pardon me. There is no embellishment in there at all. Zero. Proctor verbatim said that statement. A lot of people knock lawyers for embellishment. There's no embellishment there. I'd like to blow my nose 1 second. Thank you for your patience. No embellishment there whatsoever. None. That's what Proctor said. But I need to see, so I get all the points. These are all great points. What we need, and what we will get to is the cohesive legal argument that applies, because remember, issue, rule, application, conclusion. What's the issue? Aiden wants Proctor's text. What's the rule? Certain things that Proctor did in the context of his behavior as an investigator on Aiden's case are so gratuitous that they justify them being turned over, I think. What's the application of the facts related to that rule and issue to the case law? I don't have that yet. And then what's the conclusion? So I'm looking for, how does this tie up into a neat little bow under the standard for obtaining the messages? We're getting there, but Bettero's building his foundation, building his IRAC. It's a very long IRAC. And Bettero doesn't use umbrella paragraphs. Some people tell you what they're going to say, and then they say it again, which is fine. Some people don't use umbrella paragraphs. Mr. Bettero does not use umbrella paragraphs. His IRAC can be 20 pages. The whole document's in like one IRAC, which is good. I mean, that's how judges think. All right, let's continue. That last one really made me mad. In Proctor's world, a genocidal lunatic who is probably the most reviled person in modern world history. I mean, here's the thing. He could be talking about Michael Proctor, but I think he's talking about, the bad guy from Germany. Was an admirable man who was really onto something. Yeah, Proctor did say that too. Exhibit 8, paragraph 5. For his part, this is footnote 5, Good opined to Proctor that Anne Frank was a, quote, lying C-word. Yeah, that one makes me really mad. Only someone who's never been to the Anne Frank house in Amsterdam would say that. Like, you can't really punish someone by making them go to Amsterdam for many reasons. You'd have to, have them under armed guard and only bring them to the Anne Frank house, because the rest of Amsterdam's, just kind of fun. But my point is, only someone who's never been to the Anne Frank house could say that. Because if you go there, it's very obvious she was there. I mean, it's you can't dispute it. It's horrifying what happened to Anne Frank. Those of you who don't know the story should absolutely look it up. There is, and I've talked about this before, and Bettero brings it up here, he doesn't dive into it, and I don't think it's necessary to do in the motion, but there is a very small segment of basically what is in effect Holocaust denialism that says that Anne Frank, that the whole thing was fake, that she didn't write a diary, that some guy, I don't know, I've looked it up a little bit. There are some things like the ADL does well, by the way, which is chronicling how these things emerge and where these weird they're right of right. They're so far neo-fascist, they're not on the political spectrum, come up. And this is one of them. It's people might think of it as just a guy calling Anne Frank a liar. It's not. It's a segment of a very small sector of extremist ideology that believes that the diary was staged to create a narrative about the Holocaust. It's Holocaust denialism, by other words. It really is. And a lot of us read about Anne Frank, and not to mention those of us who I have been to the Anne Frank house. So my dad liked to travel, and my dad was Jewish, and he had family. I had family who died in the camps. And so my dad would take me around for trips, various places, Paris, Prague, Santorini, Mykonos. I was very blessed as a child. Italy, England. I've been all over, and Hawaii. But the point is, he would take me sometimes alone. And what we would do is he liked to plan itineraries, and we always would go to the Jewish quarter. Well, our family is buried partially in the Prague Jewish cemetery, and we went there, and a lot of the victims of the Holocaust are buried there in the Jewish cemetery in Prague. And also, in when you go to the Anne Frank house, you see, I mean, it is a museum, but there's not really like things on the wall. It's kind of preserved. Now the problem is, it's kind of like tilting almost, like it's exactly as it was when she was there. It's like preserved, but the floor is kind of like dropping into this like soil, kind of. That's the best I can explain it. It's a little, you got to be careful when you're in there. But anyway, if you actually go in there, what they have is you kind of go in to, if I recall, like there's a very long line, and then you go into what looks like a regular house, and you go, the kitchen is very small though, and you get into the kitchen, and I think it was off to the right, if I recall. You go into this like what looks like a cupboard, and it's only like 2 feet tall. It's very small. I could barely fit, and I was pretty slender then, but I'm like 6'2", and you go under this like cupboard, and you go into this like stairway that's not a stairway. It's like kind of like these weird like wooden stairs they're very waxy almost, like the material, it was like put together, you could tell, just like on a whim at the last minute. And you go up there, and when you're in that space that she was in, you cannot stand up. Not just me. I mean, I was bent over at the waist. It's terrifying. And that was what they had to live in with the Dutch underground to avoid the camps. Now, they got her eventually, and I forget how. I think like somebody went out, her cousin or something, and the SS like saw the cousin who went back to the house, and then they raided the house. But yeah, for him to say she's a liar is not just him just like project. Like, he's not like being like, Serena Williams lied about the number of titles she has at Wimbledon. No, there's a deeper meaning, which is like he's denying the Holocaust directly. I'm glad Betterow pointed it out. Good referred to New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft, a well-known supporter of Israel and bringing awareness to ending anti-Semitic hatred, that's true, as a terrible C-word Jew. Yeah, that one made me offended too. I wish the Patriots would comment about that. You know, I understand the war. Trust me, I covered the war. Set aside the political leadership of Israel. Let's just talk about like the people of Israel. I wish the state or like of Israel or the Patriots would say something about that specific line. And frankly, you know, the Anne Frank thing coupled with the Robert Kraft thing is enough, I think, for someone to say something. I can understand why the Patriots don't want to do it. It's unfortunate. I don't want to get into this too deep, but I can see why they don't want to do it. The climate right now, because of the war, is just very intense. But the state of Israel, or somebody, like the Anne Frank Institute, like somebody could say something about this, and nobody did, and it made me mad. I did my best, but Towel's connections only go so far. You know. I did my best. Let's just say I gave it a Scout's honest try, alright? Let's continue. And when I say I gave it a Scout's honest try, I mean I really tried to get like the attention of the powers that be. But when you're dealing with states, it's hard. It really is. I tried to get Ghana to... I was really mad about Proctor's comments about Ghana. I tried to get Ghana to, you know, get involved. Ghana didn't want to get involved. Alright, let's continue. I'm not kidding, though. Although I'm using levity to buttress the trauma, there's something really wrong about that Holocaust denialism, and I hope more people will talk about it. I found it very offensive. Not just because of my personal experiences and my family members who died in the camps, but also because it's just wrong. It's a disgusting thing to say, and if that ideology catches on, we run the risk of erasing that history. That's why we preserved, not just, I mean, I say we, but as a society, that's why we preserved the camps. That's why Dachau is, I believe, no, Auschwitz. There's at least 2 camps, maybe 1. that are still there. They are there so that people cannot say they didn't happen. James, welcome. I pray that doesn't happen. I think Proctor is the low man on the totem pole who was clearly the errand boy. There's a theme here. Like, Fanning got called in to clean up Birchmore's case. Proctor got called in to clean up John's case. Somebody under Mark Sir's command, I forget who it was, got called in to clean up Tiffany Overstreet. And Tully got called in to clean up Aiden. They're the cleanup men. What are we going to call them? The plumbers were the plumbers, right? Because they had an office in the basement of the White House called plumbers. They stopped leaks. Interpen was Interpen. What are we going to call this unit? I don't even know. Are Morrissey's men? That's an homage to all the president's men. But I don't really know what to call them. I don't know who the leader was. I'll figure it out. It seems to be... Listen, I don't even think people like saying this name. I think it is Coppenrath. This is my opinion. Anybody ever say... Do people say that name enough? Is that the kind of name that people just don't say? What do I know? I'm just a towel. Mike Morrissey was definitely just an enabler. This was pervasive. This unit was working for someone way before Michael Morrissey came to office. Remember who Michael Morrissey was in the Senate with? Who was the president of the Senate back then? Anybody remember? Ah, goodness, that's old history. Probably doesn't have any relevance. No, it couldn't. No. That's silly. That's a good trivia question, though. Who was the president of the Massachusetts Senate when Michael Morrissey was a senator? My pleasure, Explorer. Yes, it is very intense content. That's why I try to buttress it with breaks. It's a thing I learned during the war. You can't just read traumatic material or show people traumatic material straight. It's not good for the brain. So I try to break it up with... I'll answer questions. Sometimes I'll show goats. We like the goats. Hashtag save the goats. And the turtles. You know, we can do save the turtles. Why not? Thank you, Tina. But yes, I'm acutely aware that this material is traumatizing, and the breaks are not gratuitous. They're to insulate your brain from trauma. Hello, Emily C. Fake Lally Siggy. It is good to see you. About 25 major former concentration and extermination camps are preserved today as an official memorial as museums and educational centers. 25, wow. So I didn't want to commit to more than I had seen, but yeah, I knew there were at least 2. I'm very pleased, though. And again, that's the weight, as much as I try to insulate it. The weight of this is that what Sean Good said was an attempt, which is not the first time and won't be the last, to erase that history, and I won't see it happen. Helen Keller's diary, it's so good to see you. Alright, let's continue. In Proctor's world, a genocidal lunatic... Oh, we already read that one. I want to read it again. In Proctor's world, a genocidal lunatic, who is probably the most reviled person in modern history, was an admirable man who was, quote, really onto something. Alright, next paragraph, 29. While discussing Jewish people from Sharon, also located in Norfolk County, Proctor expressed his idea that, quote, we really should keep them in a concentration camp. Oh, yeah, he did say that. Oh, he went all in on it. At paragraph 36, according to Proctor, there are too many Jews in Sharon. What? Did he read? Didn't the Supreme Court apologize for the decision that led to the internment of Japanese Americans? And he's up there saying we should put them in concentration camps. Yeah, I do. So the concentration camp one was referenced in Karen's filing. I don't think it went into the Miles King filing, but yeah, this one was in Karen's filing. It was brutal. And remember, Rosemary Scapiccio was limited in the scope of what she could argue. She got as much as she could in there. But Miles King is a black man. So she was arguing about his class. Honest says, truth will be exposed for justice for John O'Keefe and his family. No one needs 10 lawyers when they are factually innocent. No one. That's an interesting opinion. Yeah, there's a lot of lawyers in this case. Judge Gilday is a little overwhelmed in the civil case, I should say. There's not that many lawyers in Aiden's case. There's Bradel and Betterow. Is there another one? I think that's it. Bradel and Betterow. Why do I feel like I'm forgetting? No, there's only 2 lawyers. I've never seen another lawyer argue in the criminal case for Aiden. At least that I can recall. There have been times when Aiden's lawyers were in the same courtroom as Karen's lawyers, but I don't believe there's anyone else on that legal team. In terms of lawyers that I can recall. There's apparently a new guy named Pyle. I was talking about who's on the defense in this specific criminal case, and then I was thinking about the lawyers in the civil cases as well. There's a lot of lawyers in the civil cases. There's not a lot of lawyers in the criminal case that we're talking about now. There's only like 3 or 4 at most, for both sides in total. All right, let's continue. The context of Proctor's support for the bad man who ran Germany. Betterow didn't say that. I just don't want to keep saying that name. I don't like it. And Nazi ideology cannot be ignored. According to a 2016 study, all right, Mr. Betterow, Norfolk and Plymouth counties are home to approximately 57,000 Jewish people. That's a lot of Jewish people. It is chilling to ponder that Proctor, a sworn law enforcement officer assigned to the Norfolk DA's office and obligated to protect and serve a county with a large Jewish population, effusively praised a man whose goal was the systemic extermination of innocent Jewish people. That's true. I don't know what the Jewish people in Sharon did to deserve going in a concentration camp. He seemed to just want to do it because they were Jewish. That's terrible. Like his racism and anti-Semitism, Proctor's misogyny also knows no limit. He repugnantly outlined for Good and others his failed efforts to... I'm not saying that. To... I'm going to give an essay warning, and then I'm going to say his failed efforts to essay via rectum his then girlfriend. That is not how Mr. Betterow described it, and he's free to describe it the way he did, which is correct, but I'm not saying that. He discussed his efforts to engage in non-consensual sexual activity by trying to violate a sleeping woman and trying to ply her with alcohol to the point she was hammered. As a police officer, hammered was in quotes, as a police officer who investigated sexual assaults, he even discussed the possibility of using a roofie or something, in quotes, to further his goal of sexually assaulting women. According to Proctor, his inability to SA his own girlfriend was, quote, starting to piss him off, quote, it's not cool. Exhibit A, paragraph 35. They're a maid. Oh, Mr. Betterow helpfully cites to the population estimates of Norfolk County. Hold on one second. Oh, I didn't want to open it in a new tab. Oh, that's all right. We'll get back to our place relatively quickly. I wanted to just see what the link was like. We can do that. Hold on. Just want to do it in a new tab. U.S. Jewish population estimates. All right. Okay. Massachusetts. Hey, look at that. 57,000 in Norfolk and Plymouth County. And when is this accurate as of? When was this published? Hmm. 2014. So, give or take, the numbers might be in flux, but that's, within 12 years. Are they supposed to use URLs? Well, that was useful either way. Proctor's depraved and misogynistic communications suggest that he may have perjured himself at Miss Reed's trial, where he denied looking for naked photos of Karen Reed. Proctor claimed he was joking when he texted his colleagues and friends that his search of Reed's phone revealed no nudes so far, in quotes, id at 12. Unknown to Karen Reed's defense at the time, Proctor and Good discussed sharing nude photos of women. On one occasion, after Proctor informed Good that a woman had sent him nude photos, Good asked Proctor to send them to him. Good assured Proctor that if he had such photos, he would send them to Proctor because, quote, we are family here. Ooh, yeah, that's very vile. Welcome, Heather. Thank you for joining Tower Channel. Enjoy your wrench. 31. Among the other communities of people Proctor is prejudiced against are Asians, Arabs, Hispanics, Brazilians, and gay people. See Exhibit A, paragraphs 3, 5, and 36. 35. It is bad enough that Proctor is an angry and intolerant bigot who regularly fantasizes about randomly murdering and assaulting innocent black people, the extermination of Jewish people, and essaying women incapable of giving consent. Okay, hold on. Page 10, paragraph 35, line 1, 2, 3, 4. There should just be an of here after incapable. I just want to denote that. It's not a big thing. Even judges do this, but incapable of giving consent. But Proctor was far more dangerous than a garden variety bigot. For more than a decade, he was a bigot with a state-issued firearm and shield who was supported without reservation by and afforded unfettered access to the full power, authority, and resources of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the Norfolk County DA's office, and the Massachusetts State Police. 30. More importantly, Proctor's messages reveal that his arrogance and offensive views influenced his professional judgment as a sworn law officer. Examples of such bias include Proctor discussed, quote, planting coke on people, Exhibit A, and shoving a nightstick up someone's rectum. B. Proctor told Good to take your time responding to a multi-car accident in Canton because, quote, as we know, the Proctor said, quote, a N-word was involved, so I wouldn't rush. If you're working, let them die. C. During an encounter with a black person he pulled over, Proctor texted others, bragging and laughing that he, quote, just got some N pulled over who is unlicensed and debating arresting or giving him a summons. Exhibit B, paragraph 4. Proctor told Pendy that although he hadn't shot anyone today, he did, quote, pull a N-word over today for tossing a cigarette out the window. 37. Proctor's messages revealed his personal animus towards Reed, Exhibit A. His strong personal bias against Reed played a key role in Reed's acquittal for the murder of John O'Keefe. In Reed's case, without the benefit of the messages now in her possession, including one where Proctor did that right after he was in that Sally Port with the mystery man, then Sean McDonough was wrong. It was never a stupid taillight project, and he was working on a modified limited hangout. It was the taillight all along. That's my opinion. Listen, everybody made all this noise about the damn taillight when it was staring us in the face the entire time. That's what you call flooding the zone in a modified limited hangout. Hashtag Amata. I knew it. I knew it, ladies and gentlemen. I could see it. You should look up modified limited hangout. comes from Richard Nixon. Let's look it up. We're pausing. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. The tail light is everything. Okay, now you want to know what a modified limited hangout is? We're doing it. We're gonna learn. You have to understand what they did. All right, because it was so obvious in hindsight that they went to that Sally Port, okay, and took the taillight pieces and brought them to Fairview. I need to show you why they flooded the zone. All right, this is a limited hangout. Now a lot of you have asked. I need to tell you how they did Karen dirty, and they probably did it to Eden too. It's where you know derogatory information is going to come out about your investigation or your corruption, so you find a little kernel of truth and you release it packaged in a bunch of nonsense. Now let me allow British Reporter Tal to tell us what this is, please, my friend.
Limited hangout. A limited hangout or partial hangout is a tactic used in media relations, perception management, politics, and information management. The tactic originated as a technique in the espionage trade. Concepted it. According to Victor Marchetti, a former special assistant to the Deputy Director of the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, a limited hangout is spy jargon for a favorite and frequently used gimmick of the clandestine professionals. When their veil of secrecy is shredded and they can no longer rely on a phony cover story to misinform the public, they resort to admitting, sometimes even volunteering, some of the truth while still managing to withhold the key and damaging facts in the case. The public, however, is usually so intrigued by the new information that it never thinks to pursue the matter further. While used by the CIA and other intelligence organizations, the tactic has become popularized in the corporate and political spheres. Modified limited hangout edit. In a March 22, 1973, meeting between United States President Richard Nixon, John Dean, John Ehrlichman, John N. Mitchell, and H.R. Haldeman, Ehrlichman incorporated the term into a new and related one, modified limited hangout. The phrase was coined in the following exchange. President, you think we want to go this route now? And the, let it hang out, so to speak. Dean, well, it isn't really that. HALDEMAN, it's a limited hangout. Dean, it's a limited hangout. EHRLICHMAN, it's a modified limited hangout. President, well, it's only the questions of the thing hanging out publicly or privately. Before this exchange, the discussion captures Nixon outlining to Dean the content of a report that Dean would create, laying out a misleading view of the role of the White House staff in events surrounding the Watergate burglary. In Ehrlichman's words, and the report says, nobody was involved. The document would then be shared with the United States Senate Watergate Committee investigating the affair. The report would serve the administration's goals by protecting the president, providing documentary support for his false statements should information come to light that contradicted his stated position. Further, the group discusses having information on the report leaked by those on the committee sympathetic to the president, to put exculpatory information into the public sphere. The phrase has been cited as a summation of the strategy of mixing partial admissions with misinformation and resistance to further investigation, and is used in political commentary to accuse people or groups of following a Nixon-like strategy. It has also been described as the release of a package of sensitive information mixed with discoverable falsehoods in hopes the discovery of the falsity of part will lead to the entire package being considered false. And as the release of a package with a core of falsehoods wrapped in secret but verifiable information in hopes that verification of the wrapping will reinforce the believability of the false core. Writing in the Washington Post, Mary McGrory described a statement by Pope John Paul II regarding sexual abuse by priests as modified, limited hangout.
That's fair. I'm Catholic, practicing, I would say, but that's a fair critique of crime and solicitationes and the way the church moved people around. Don't get me started on the Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith. Do you get it now, though? Do you see what they did? Oh, no. Hold on, Bunny, that's okay. We can fix it. We can fix Linda's timeout. You just switched the duration to 10 seconds. Sorry, Linda, that was a mistake. Yes, Bunny, if that ever happens again, just you go back, timer out, and switch the timeout to 10 seconds, and it will override it. Sorry about that, Linda. That was a mistake. Towel Chat Mom Bunny is here and always watching. But yeah, do you all get it now? The Bettero's pointing you here to what was staring us in the face all along. This was a modified limited hangout. The taillight was the actual issue the whole time. And what they did, I believe, what Morrissey and the state police did was like, listen, we got to flood the zone. We just got to make it seem like the people like talking about this are just out of their mind. And therefore, in my opinion, Sean McDonough's op comes into play. He called it an op. And come on, how rudimentary. I get it was a layered op, okay? And they had a bunch of people they brought on. It was well funded. I get it was a layered op, but come on. It's the most obvious modified limited hangout I've ever seen. When you actually look at it, that's all the Karen Reed and John O'Keefe case was. Don't pay attention to the Sally Port, not the inversion. Don't pay attention to the mystery man at 5:38 p.m. next to Proctor at the taillight. Don't pay attention to the time connection between when that occurred and when the first taillight piece was discovered, if it was even 5:45. That's just what the report says on the lawn at 34 Fairview. So, yeah, Betterow had me ranting there, but he's right. All right, let's continue. In footnote 7, Betterow helpfully tells the judge, according to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, N-word is a British slang designed to be a derogatory term for a black person. Okay, I didn't know it was British. Thank you very much, Mr. Betterow. Proctor's actual bias against Carney. Like his comments smearing Reed, the few messages of Proctor that the defense has seen demonstrate Proctor's actual bias against Carney. Ooh. In a July 13th, 2023 email entitled TurtleBoy to ADA Adam Lally and his MSP supervisors 3 months before Carney's arrest, Proctor referred to Carney as blank. All right, and then there's a footnote. Where's the footnote? Footnote 8. Due to the existence of long-standing protective orders in this case, we have redacted certain portions of Proctor's messages. Now that Proctor's disgusting character has been laid bare by Reed and King's public filings after Judge Doolin's unsealed various documents, there is no reasonable basis to protect Proctor and or deny public access to matters of great public concern involving possible corruption and investigative bias. Given what the public already knows about Proctor, there is little risk that release of the redacted messages will unduly prejudice him or the Commonwealth. A separate motion on that issue will be filed shortly. I called it. I didn't even have to read it. I knew he was going to move this way. I knew it. As soon as I saw even the docket entry, I was like, oh, he's going to move to unseal them all. Push me. Thank you so much for those 2 jewels. You're wonderful. Good afternoon, Bo2. How are you doing? Welcome to the channel. It has been 2.5 hours. We have 30 minutes left on our goal. If anyone wants to support Towel Channel, I think this is a good time to pause and say thank you very much. We're going to finish through to page 17 of this motion. I'm going to go till about 2 o'clock. If you want to help the channel, you can like. If you're new here, you can subscribe. We're getting close to 11,000 subscribers on Towel Channel. There's other ways to help. There's a super chat button. We need 4 more super chats to meet our goal. I don't know what I'll do. I'll play a goat video. We'll dance around. I'll be a towel. You can also help buy me lunch, and thank you to everyone who sent Venmo or Cash Apps or things like that. If you want to help do that, there is the ability to do so in the chat. I have to do this reminder every hour or two, or I forget. And then the people who help me a lot, then the burden falls on them. So I try to distribute it out, and therefore feel free to support my journalism. I strive to educate, inform, and entertain. I use entertainment as a buffer to insulate your brain from trauma in order to educate and inform in the service of engendering cogent public discourse, such as to ward off the usurpation of our representative forms of government worldwide. And if you want to support that mission, this is a one-man show, one-man operation. I'm the producer. I do the hosting costs. I run the software myself. I get the documents. I do what I can. So yeah, feel free to help out if you can. God bless all of you. Thank you for your support. I am a towel. And yeah, I don't have any support anymore. I don't talk about it a lot, but definitely taking this position, the one support I had left, my mother, not only did she stop supporting me, she's started trying to hurt me, in my opinion, various ways. So yeah, but I have a wonderful family now. I have a lot of chat moms, wonderful towel girlfriend. I feel very supported and loved. We shall continue on with our work. All right, but I do want to write this up, because this is very important. Yeah, Lex Animata, it is a sad situation. My mom knows Michael Proctor's uncle-in-law or something. new. Proctorgate is almost now certain to expand as journalists has announced he will soon be filing a motion to unimpound all of Michael Proctor's still secret messages about Aiden and potentially others in short. Yes, we could be heading to Unimpound Town. Nurse Kim's going to be thrilled. Nurse Kim loves Unimpound Town. That's where I got the name. So I think I heard Melanie Little, attorney Melanie Little, say it first. But I don't know who came up with it, Nurse Kim or Melanie Little, attorney Melanie Little. But it's a hilarious saying. And frankly, I could see Judge Doolin being like, listen, I'm going to send them to Unimpound Town. They're going to love it. I'm not going to say that in open court, though. And someone else, like one of the clerks, maybe Clerk Margaret, who's leaving. God bless Clerk Margaret, by the way. She's leaving Norfolk Superior Court. Clerk Margaret was like, Judge Doolin was probably like, I cannot say the word Unimpound Town in court. It's not happening. Oh, thank you so much to Pat Ray for helping us get just one super chat closer to our super chat goal. God bless you, Pat Ray. Welcome to the chat. So good to meet you. Pleasure to have you here. You are wonderful. And I gave you a towel wrench. Let me finish writing up this story, though. Let's see. Source, page 12 of 17. I like to be precise. So if I'm going to write something up, I got to get a screenshot of it. Got to go write it up. Got to cite to the page. Got to get the link to the Google Drive file from Kyle's post. It's a process. But that was a very important footnote. I called it. You got to always read the footnotes. I cannot stress this enough. I know it's hard to read legal motions because it's very looped. It's like reading Finnegan's Wake. I understand. I agree with Jürgen Habermas's critique of legal rationality. That doesn't mean that I'm a legal realist, okay? I just agree with Habermas's critique of how legalese, true to the decision, I believe, of the Supreme Court in Gideon v. Wainwright, obfuscates from the layman at the very foundation of the adversarial process the ability to understand what's going on. Hence why we have the Sixth Amendment and the Seventh Amendment, which should be more robust in my opinion. I'm working on it. That one's a big one to take on though, but I have some ideas. Sixth Amendment is right to a jury in a criminal trial, or right to a lawyer and other things in a criminal trial. Seventh Amendment is right to a lawyer in a civil trial, but no, excuse me, right to a jury in a civil trial. There is no right to a lawyer in a civil trial. Hence the difference. Sherry, thank you so much for becoming a member. Enjoy your towel emojis. As I note how important this footnote is, did you know we have various towel emojis? We have penguins. Hold on one second. Yes, we have penguins. We have Towel Chat Mom Bunny's dog, Kofi. We have goats. Okay, Towel Chat Mom Lynn loves the penguins. We have towel-based emojis. I made these all. They're pretty cool. Did you know we have Chloe in a wig? If you followed Karen's case, I mean, how can you not love Chloe the dog in the wig? Now, you might say, why is Chloe in a wig? Well, she's in Doggy Witsec. We can't talk too much about it. She's not in Vermont, clearly. She may have gone there initially, but she's a cooperating federal doggy witness. It's a very secretive program, so she has to wear a wig. God bless you to the person who sent a towel donation. I'm going to definitely get lunch once we get through this document. We'll do the motion to dismiss, the supplemental motion to dismiss another day. It takes a while. When I read a document, I know a lot of people do it this way. I really read it. I'm going to tear it apart. I'm going to read every line. If you miss a word, even like the word of, I'm probably going to catch it. So I really like to read it. So, plus my voice has been a little sore. It's feeling better today. God bless you all, though, and thank you for your support, and thank you for all your wonderful emojis. Everyone's having a really good time with the emojis. All right, let's continue. All right, that's an important footnote, though. I cannot stress enough how important that footnote is, because that's a footnote that signals, right? There's always something good hidden in a footnote if you know what to look for, and that signals, right? It's forecasting to us we're going to get a big motion to reveal these blacked out statements in this motion. That's great. We deserve to know. There's no reason. Bettero's absolutely right. You see what he's saying? It may seem like he's saying, look at what these other cases did. Do that for me, Judge. He's not. He's saying similarly situated defendants were entitled by a ruling from Judge Doolin, who's the regional administrative justice in Norfolk County, I may add, to unimpound their motions related to Proctor's messages. There is no reason under the protective order standard, which is 26C or whatever it is. It might be different in criminal cases, maybe like 7C, I don't know. There is no compelling reason, he's probably going to argue this, to keep these messages from the public in light of Judge Doolin's ruling. And that's a legal argument. It's not a do it for me because it's the right thing to do argument. You don't really win those. It's you're bound. You don't tell a court they have to do something. You say, Your Honor, equity and justice demand that you provide my client with the same right to reveal these messages that other similarly situated defendants were given. That's how you win the argument. That's why I'm telling you. Did I not telegraph this earlier? The big takeaway from this document is the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office has to make a choice. It's not Robert Cosgrove that has to make the choice. He's just a fall guy. Clearly. Come on. T.A. Sarah says, Professor, please be a guest on Rat House Media. I heard that there was some, I think Justice Serve might have mentioned something. If Rat House would like to interview, that would be fine. I will absolutely start reaching out to people, and I'm happy to do so. God bless you, T.A. Sarah. Thank you for your support. 432 Googleplexes worth of bonus points. Now, that's too many zeros probably to write in chat. You'll have to Google what a Googleplex is of zeros. It's a lot of zeros. So anyway, you get that many bonus points. Thank you for your support of Tao Channel. What a great sheep emoji. That was great. Yeah, but this is a big deal. It's a big deal not because if I thought this were just going down the road of, okay, he's going to get these messages and then they're going to come out and we'll see what's in the motions, I would be saying it. But I think it's bigger than that. I think the Norfolk County DA is staring down the barrel of a proverbially loaded, trebuchet. Yes. Yep. Mark Bettero broke out a judicial trebuchet. How about that one? He broke out a judicial trebuchet. It's locked and loaded. Did you know I saw a trebuchet in person one time? Oh, this is great. We have 2 minutes left for our super chat goal. And Miss M.I.Z. Holmes 66 says thank you for following the light and crossing over. Oh, God bless you, Miss Holmes. Thank you very much for your support. We are just, I think, 2 super chats away from our goal. We've had quite a day. This has been quite an interesting time. I've enjoyed spending so much time with you all. Oh, Flow State. What a wonderful Flow State. Thank you to D.H. Reed 6275. God bless you for that Flow State. Thank you for your support of Tao Channel. All right, we have 1 minute and 35 seconds. Will we make it? 2 super chats to go. I think we can do it. I have faith. I'm a Tao. It's okay if we don't. I'll play gold videos at the end either way. I'm so grateful for all of your support. You've been very kind today. You've made reading this intense material a little bit easier. God bless you all for all of that. And thank you for being so kind and compassionate to each other. It's been very, very genteel, and I appreciate that. You all could live within the movie Barry Lyndon just fine. All right, let's continue. Proctor was upset that Carney had referenced himself and his family. He complained that redacted. See affidavit of motion to compel, October 24, 2025. So redacted before, redacted now. God bless you, Sherry. Thank you again for your support. On September 3rd, 2023, in a group text chain with DA Michael Morrissey and his MSP superiors, Proctor complained that they were blank to stop Carney. Probably doing nothing. Disparaging Carney as blank, he again complained that Carney was discussing himself and his family. I would guess that this says doing nothing. And I would say this is probably a-hole. 41. Proctor urged D.A. Morrissey and his MSP superiors blank implying that the details to justify this drastic action could be filled in later. His superiors to just charge him. How much you want to bet that says just charge him? I knew it. Implying that the details to justify this drastic action could be filled in later. Oh, just arrest him. Not charge him. Just cuff or arrest him. Maybe just cuff him. Arrest is a little long there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Like 15 letters. So J-U-S-T space C-U-F-F. That's 10 space. Yeah, just cuff him. That seems the best. Oh, thank you so much to Helena. That's such a kind Swedish donation. Although I don't really know why I had Swedish nannies, I can say Itzy Spina, and I have a very close connection to Sweden. God bless you for your support. We'll count that towards the super chat goal. We're playing goat videos no matter what. At least one goat video. The goats were displaced in southern Lebanon. We just want the goats to be okay. And the turtles. And other various animals, like doggos and cats. And we like all animals. Dolphins, orcas. I heard dolphins are a little sexist, so, shout out orcas. They seem nice, too. Clearly bent on silencing Carney because of his personal frustration with him, Proctor stated that blank, blank, blank. Oh, I want to read that one. All right, let's continue. 42. This message is another example of Proctor's official actions being influenced by his personal bias and animus against a specific individual. We also now know that Proctor was making jokes about the Irish potato famine, and, that is Aiden's class of people. Linda says Grant is a good towel. God bless you, Linda. Ms. Holmes, there you go. We have hit our goal. God bless you to MIZ Holmes 66. You all will get goat videos as soon as we get to the end of this document, which is probably in a page or two because they got to do a certificate of service and things like that. Hashtag save the goats and the turtles and the orcas and dolphins. Either way, we met our goal. God bless you all. We had contributions from Sweden. It's like a World Cup, It's like when the Scots are in town in Boston. We all had a wonderful towel party. I'm going to enjoy my lunch today. No, you all made me a very happy towel due to your congeniality, even among the intense subject matter. God bless all of you. I'm a towel. You all can be towels too. That's wonderful. All right. On January 28, 2025, Proctor texted Sergeant Buchanan that he had reviewed redacted live show that criticized Proctor and his family. Why does that have to be redacted? Proctor and Sergeant Buchanan discussed redacted on January 28, 2025. Well then, hate watching YouTube presentations is not healthy. We might have to have an intervention. Not with Michael Proctor and Yuri Buchanan. I think they probably already had their intervention. But just in general, I want to... Oh, D. Reed says, have no idea what flow mode is, but it was available, so that was that. Anyway, your ADHD, no party allegiance take on things. Decent humans unite. Oh, God bless you. D.H. Reed, thank you so much for your compassion. That was very kind of you. Blueberry Girl, what a wonderful username. Thank you so much for being here. I gave you a towel wrench. You're also wonderful. Let me play back what I was just talking about. I feel like that was going to get interesting. Hold on. I mean, he's not... I have a DVR system for myself. You don't understand. It's great. Sometimes I forget what I'm talking about and just replay the stream. On January 28, 2025. Uh-huh. What else were you saying, Towel? Well then. Hate watching... Oh! YouTube. I wanted to give a public service announcement. Just a brief public service announcement. Hate watching YouTube presentations is not healthy for one's psyche. I don't know who's giving this. I think it's me. This is a towel-sponsored public service announcement. It's not healthy. One, I think a lot of the drama is artificial and designed to deflect your attention away from the substance of serious legal motions, whether in Aiden or Karen's case or the Sandra Birchmore, Matthew Farwell case or otherwise. Furthermore, it's not healthy. It really isn't. When you got to go to bed every night thinking about what some obscure person might say about you the next day on some obscure YouTube presentation, like, you're not in the government, okay? You really don't need to. If you don't have a press secretary, you probably don't need to be thinking about that, and you might be a little bit too wrapped up in your own world. I'm not talking to anyone in particular. I'm giving a general intervention for what I've seen. Now, I realize a lot of it's an artificial byproduct of the collapse of a private intelligence operation that is very upset that it's no longer funded or able to effectively operate. Okay? I understand. But still, it's not healthy, to hate watch YouTube presentations. It's just not. I don't think it's good for the soul. It's just not. Watch, maybe you're into, like, nails, towel girlfriend, let's say. You can watch those videos. Just, if you're watching it for a tactical purpose to get insight about what someone's thinking, that's fine. But, like, just don't. Just don't. That's my advice. Just don't. Go pick flowers. I don't know. Walk around, watch a World Cup game, pine for the fjords, go to Norway. Hell if I know. That's just general advice, though. I really think that would be healthy, But yeah, a lot of people are doing it, I think, for money, so it doesn't really matter. But they're only enabled through numbers, right? What's the worst thing that you can do to someone who's only doing what they're doing to draw attention away from someone else? Starve them of the attention. Watch them wither on the vine. Same advice I give to the Morrissey's PR stoolies about them. I've said this for months. Deprive them of the attention that they desire, and they don't exist. They don't exist in a vacuum. Their oxygen is the people who hate them. But yeah, there's a way to stay focused on very meritorious, substantive information without falling victim to limited hangouts, manipulative drama, whatever it may be. And that is through your own informed participation in the civic sphere. If you hear a bunch of different people all talking about something, and then you see what's actually going on by following it to the primary source, you are empowered to eradicate the influence of those insipid, useless narratives, distracting narratives from the public sphere, push them into the private sphere where they have no influence on policy, and focus public attention back where it needs to be on the substance of these cases. That's how you do it. Starve them. And you could get that same feeling you get from hate watching by starving them of attention. Oh, it's much more pleasant. It will be more pleasant for you. It'll be more pleasant for them, and the world benefits. Everybody. It's a win-win-win. I'm just trying to tell you. I'm being gentle. We're trying this the gentle way. All right, let's continue. So my point with that, though, is they were watching this as of January of 2025. We knew this, but just to emphasize this, like, they couldn't stop themselves. It's like, it's almost as embarrassing as if, like, they were all gathering, like, on a Discord with bingo cards and checking things off on the bingo card when TurtleBoy would say certain things. That's a level of compulsion where, there was a great speech from Richard Nixon. Let me just read it. Let me just read the operative part. Nixon. I just want to get the quote right, because it really tells the story of the downfall of Michael Morrissey and the state police unit. Always remember, others may hate you, but those who hate you don't win unless you hate them, and then you destroy yourself. All right? And that's what brought, if it does bring them down, that hubris. It's not just hubris, it's hate. When you hate, you cannot rationally think. That's why part of the op is inducing people into acting by manipulating them. Now, before I get to this next part, I want to play you one quick video. It's not the goats. You will get a goat video as soon as we're done, and then I'm going to order lunch. I got 16 more minutes to get through this. But there's a very important video that I want to show you. All right. Hello, Ellen. I love the turtle emojis and the cupcake emojis. Oh, we do love the cupcakes. All the cupcakes are honorary towels, and all the turtles can be honorary towels, and the goats can be our honorary towels. You know what I'm saying? All right. Let me look. I want to show you one video. It's very important about this kind of emotional manipulation. It's something I really want people to take away from this. And I think it's something that we all can learn from. It's quick. It's like 40 seconds. I just want to get the exact video. There it is. I got it. So take a listen to how these ops work in the real world and tell me if it did sound familiar as to what they did to Karen and Aiden. And remember, the goal is always, they're coming from a place of hate, right? But they know at the same time, because they're paramilitary trained, that hate makes you make bad decisions. So what do you think they do? They try to destabilize emotionally and psychologically their target. And here's how they do it. Don't believe me. Listen to a former CIA and FBI guy.
You can kind of put anyone in jail if you know what to do. How?
Let me change the playback speed. So again, former CIA and
You
FBI.
can kind of put anyone in jail if you know what to do. How? You set them up. You create the situation to where they have no choice but to act on their impulse. And once they act on that impulse, then we call that entrapment. We call it a nudge.
A nudge.
A nudge. Sometimes you just gotta give them a quick little, just to see what happens, right?
And how does that happen?
You put a post out there, or you have someone fake profile say something that triggers, that we know is going to trigger them, right? Like, we already know your history. If we're to that point, we already know everything about it. So we're like, oh, this will piss them off. Sometimes you light the fuse and just wait for it to follow. Nothing like putting in a big social media thing to like really get people mad. Post fake news. Sometimes it's not fake.
That is Gavin O'Blenis, a former FBI San Diego agent and a CIA contracting officer in an undercover conversation with a journalist on March 22nd, 2024. So tell me, does that sound eerily familiar to the op ran on Aiden and Karen? Fake profiles, induce emotional reactions in your targets, and hope it destabilizes them so that they act on their impulse. Who does that remind me of? Let's see. Sanchez, Purple, who else? I mean, a koala, the kangaroo. Shall I continue? Have I made my point? It was you can only, so there's this insight about knowing your enemy. Like, you don't go onto a battlefield unless you know your enemy. If you are an evil, hateful person who knows that you're destabilized by hate and is trained to turn that off so you can function under high stress environments, what do you think you're going to do? Induce that in your target? They just got really desperate with Aiden. They'd never confronted anything like him before, and they got desperate. And like Karen. Karen moves differently than Aiden. That's why I think Karen's dad was something very powerful, because she is methodical. She moves like Alan moves. Okay, real power. I mean, Lil Wayne said, real G's move in silence. He wasn't kidding. Like, the real gangsters run the world. And if you run the world, you don't need to be out there saying stuff. Dude, you're just making the decision. You're in the room. You are the shot caller. You don't need to be out there telling people and telegraphing what you're doing. Like, you need to sell it, but you don't need to tell people that you're the one in power. Power moves quietly. Karen is very powerful. Aiden is becoming powerful, but it's like me. How can I call myself powerful when I'm telling you how the magicians do their tricks? They listen to me. I can do work that I need to do. But if I were actually in those rooms, you think they would let me do this? No. Are you kidding me? No way. Similar with Aiden. I think he moves differently than Karen, but they each have their way of confronting the Norfolk DA in a way that the Norfolk DA hadn't seen before. So, anyway, that's why I think the Norfolk DA and the state police got desperate. How desperate do you have to be to use paramilitary intelligence community tactics on Aiden Carney or Karen Reed in a state-level prosecution, both of which have no real legitimate grounds? You have to be very desperate. You have to be, because think about what you're doing. 3 people can keep a secret if 2 of them are dead. That's the adage. Think about what you have to do to run that kind of op. You got to have NDAs, contracts, Bitcoin payments, Ethereum, off, like whatever, cash payments. Dude, you got to pay off a lot of people over a long amount of time, a lot of whom need to be out of the country. And you got to have someone centrally running the op to keep everyone in line. And they got to be that central person has to be the one that everyone knows behind the scenes they have to answer to if they're brought in. It's called read in. And you don't read civilians in. Thank you very much to D.H. Reeds for becoming a towel fan. Enjoy your towel emojis. It's obvious when you look at it, when you pull it all back, it was a very targeted operation. It wasn't just fake accounts online. It was a real world, what's called alternate reality game, ARG. Okay, it wasn't just movie plots being sent to people to throw them off the trail, one form of this. It was a real life infiltration of social networks, real life, to extract derogatory information and to put people in volatile situations so that they would react and there would be witnesses who were actually working for the state around them to flip. Where's that cell phone video from outside D&E? And you all know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a setup. Miss Holmes, I think anyone that has a voodoo doll is suspect. And I want to know if she's been talking to my mom. That would make her more suspect. And so, here's the thing about these fake accounts. 2 things I'm interested in. 1, did anyone that Kate Peter went to high school with start working in the orbit of, I don't know, a certain podcast that might have covered the Sandra Birchmore case in 2023? Just asking questions. I'm just wondering. I don't know the answer. I just want to know. And then, the other thing I'd like to say is, when I was a little washcloth, well, maybe more like a smaller towel, not really a washcloth. It was like 2017. I don't know. There was this right-wing man in some of it. And, I don't really care what his ideological purview is. But my point is, he was running for mayor or something. I think it was mayor. Hell if I know. And a man donated to him. Now, normally, that wouldn't really mean very much, now would it? But the man who donated to him was a man by the name of Keith Cooper. Now, Keith Cooper was the CEO of a company called Revolutionary Clinics. Now, at the time, they were suing the city of Cambridge over the city of Cambridge's business permitting ordinance, and in particular, Massachusetts General Laws 94G 31AI. Now, as you can imagine, you probably don't want to walk into the minefield of suing over a law that, Towel cares about, specifically with the regulation of, local business permanent ordinances. Makes Towel all mad. So, I got myself involved, and by happenstance, that man that Keith Cooper donated to has a bunch of family members, wouldn't you know it? Now, why would those people be showing up in the orbit of Kate Peter and the Karen Reed and TurtleBoy cases? Well, that doesn't make any sense. That confounds the imagination. So I just, I have to say, I have some ideas about why that might have happened. Now listen, I've never won the lottery in my life, not to mention twice, so I have no idea about how that thing could have happened. Or, I don't know how people might get involved in that kind of operation. I don't know why the guy who was a line sitter for Aiden and runs the parody account of me on Twitter is a felon from who had to leave Massachusetts and go to New Hampshire because he was involved in some kind of felony for like cyber hacking. I don't know why that is. I don't know why a lot of the people involved in this seem to have like former records or be involved in some way or another with serious charges that just went away. I don't know. I'm just asking questions. But anyway, if you ask the right questions, you get the right answers sometimes. And so I just think there's a lot more that's going to come out. And I don't really know why these people would be involved in this or why they would be so good at acting. A lot of actresses and actors, Now, that's another question. How many of these people involved in all this, for good, for bad, or for otherwise, were on various television programs or had connections to acting or other such things that would make them damn good at acting? I'm reminded of a quote, apropos of nothing, said by no one in relation to anything related to this. And the quote is, I don't want to be the bad guy again. Oh. Who convinced you to be the bad guy the first time? I didn't know you were playing a role. I'll leave it to you all to figure out who said that. He said with a wink and a nod. Hey, a wink's as good as a nod to a blind man. I'm giving away a lot today if you know what to... Listen, life's like a puzzle. Sometimes you just gotta know where to look. Read between the lines and free your mind. It's like good jazz. Hi, Spacey, it's so good to see you, my dear friend. So yeah, let's go back to the motion. Actually, let's play this clip one more time. I just want to remind you all of what I think happened over the last few years. Let me just really hammer it home. Repetition's good for retention.
You can kind of put anyone in jail if you know what to do.
How?
You set them up. You create the situation to where they have no choice but to act on their impulse. And once they act on that impulse, then we call that entrapment. We call it a nudge.
A nudge.
A nudge. Sometimes you just gotta give them a quick little, just to see what happens, right?
And how does that happen?
You put a post out there, or you have someone fake profile say something that we know is going to trigger them, right? Like we already know your history. If we're to that point, we already know everything about it. So we're like, oh, this will piss them off. Sometimes you light the fuse and just wait for it to follow. That's only putting out a fake social media thing to like really get people mad. Post fake news. Sometimes it's not fake. It's embellished a little bit.
It's not fake, it's embellished a little bit. Lucky Lofgren comes to mind. Alright, that's it, I'm gonna rant. The people who I'm speaking to know exactly who they are. Stop teaching civilians intelligence community tactics. I'm gonna get really mad. What are you doing? Do you understand that those tools in the wrong hands can cause a lot of harm? Emotional harm, psychological harm, physical harm. I'm gonna stop it. Stop it right now. Stop it. You know exactly who you are. You know what you did. You know who you taught those tools to. It's disgusting. What are you doing? You need to have some serious looks in the mirror. Not anyone in chat. Those of you who did this, you know exactly what you did. You brought civilians into the intelligence community. Do you know what you've done? They exposed the op. You can't, first of all, you can't operate on domestic soil. Second of all, what are you doing, civilians? You're crazy. Out of your minds. They leak like sieves. Out of your minds. I know exactly who did it too. Making me all mad. Go back to the...
Put anyone in jail if you know what to do.
Go to the UK if you want to run those kind of ops. Go somewhere else. We have a constitution. You get out of this country if you're going to run those kind of private intel ops. The Constitution is implicated. I don't care how lucrative it is. It's lucrative because it's wrong. I'm all mad. I know exactly what they did. I know who was in on it too. I'm going to get him. I told the Congress. I'm going to petition my government for redress of my grievances. And I have a lot of friends. Let's continue. Not that there's really much more to read. I need to read the legal conclusion, but we don't get anything else here because it's all redacted from this point on. Although it shouldn't be redacted, which I think is the takeaway from this motion. Yeah, T.A. Sarah, I'm all mad. Haven't eaten my lunch yet. I'm all cranky. Towel girlfriend did remind me to eat a sandwich this morning, but that's the only reason I'm not completely mad. All right, let's continue. I want to rant more about the moles, though. I didn't come into this trying to mole hunt. You know, when I started mole hunting, was it Benny Sweetpants? Somebody put me on a mole hunt. No, you know what it was? Oh, GB Packers fan says, Grant, do you think the judge will deny TV access to Proctor's messages because the WI charges against Proctor were dismissed? No, not on those grounds. God bless you. Thank you for your support. God bless you. No, not on those grounds. Oh yeah, T.A. Sarah, get me my damn paintings. No, I don't think the judge will deny it on the grounds that Proctor's component of the charges were dismissed because Proctor's involvement permeates through the whole indictment, all of the remaining indictments. What I do think the judge might dismiss it on or deny it on is if they dismiss the charges, which, I mean, I'm telling you, I just have a sense. I can't guarantee it. And you gotta hope for the best, plan for the worst. That's why Aiden needs support. He's got a bunch of fun. He's got a fundraiser, got a bunch of people who have links to it to check it out. You need to, this is why you have Mark Betterow. You hope for the best, plan for the worst. The best outcome, which I can't put a percentage possibility on. I can't get in Judge Belzeo's mind. But it's more than Norfolk DA's mind. But my best guess, the best possible outcome is the Norfolk DA says, under no circumstances am I giving the Proctor filed the 200,000 messages to Aidan Carney. If, as the client, Michael Morrissey says that to Robert Cosgrove, the only thing I think I believe that Robert Cosgrove can say back is, okay, then you have to drop the charges. I can't fight this motion. I can't win. The Miles King case is gonna bind on the judge. He's not gonna rule differently than Judge Doolin ruled. He's not. Now, that's the best case scenario. The worst case scenario is that somehow, some way, although I don't see this happening, but you gotta plan for it. You can't just hope it happens in the way you want. Cosgrove is like, well, you know, here's the way to insulate this from Proctor. I don't think that's possible. It's not. It's not. It really isn't. But you have to plan for Cosgrove springing. Cosgrove likes to spring motions right before the day of a hearing. So you have to assume that on like July 17th, Cosgrove's going to drop a motion. And then he's going to be like, sorry, Judge, I write really slow and I was fishing. And then while I was fishing, I tripped on the boat and then the fish like fell on me and I got some kind of infection in my like finger and I couldn't type and then I couldn't speak. And then, you know, once I recovered and the fish followed me around and I couldn't write it. Judge Belzeo's going to be like, well, a fish followed you around for 8 months. Cosgrove's going to be like, listen, Your Honor, it was on the wall. I'm not kidding you. He's going to try something like that. He's going to be like, Your Honor, I was on a vacation at some point and I got injured and then the dog bit my arm and I couldn't write and but my point is, yeah, he'll try to spring it on the court and then apologize for filing it like 2 hours before the oral argument, which can't be moved because it's been scheduled for like 4 months. So, yeah, that's what I anticipate to happen. But best case scenario, and I really cannot rule this out, Cosgrove says to Michael Morrissey, you are facing an inevitable ruling that you are going to have to turn over all 200,000 messages to Aidan Carney. That's what I believe Mark Betterow is. This is what I believe Mark Betterow is saying in this motion. He's not explicitly saying it, but I think he's telegraphing to Robert Cosgrove, drop these charges. Like, stop. It's really bad. Karen Reed already has them. Miles King and Rosemary Scapiccio have them. God knows who else has them. Stop. Like, just, this case is destroying your office. That's what the message of this motion is. Betterow would never say that. He'd never be so crass as to say it like that. But it is and I mean, what really hammers this home is that Cosgrove never responded 8 months ago to the initial motion. It's almost like the court was just hoping that this case would go to trial before Proctorgate got revealed. Whoopsie. Not a good bet. Not a good bet. I could see why Clerk Margaret dipped. I'd be like, good luck. I'm not going down with that ship. She's going to become the Secretary of Commerce. Just watch. Yeah, but here's the other thing. I wouldn't have you ever heard of the phrase pot committed in poker? So there's a point where, and I don't even know why people think this way, but it's just, you got to put it on the board. If you are betting, say you're playing Texas Hold'em, okay, and by analogy, and say you're pot committed, we're defining pot committed. You put money into the pot, right? You get 2 cards in the beginning. You have to ante small blind, big blind. Then you got to go through the first round to see the flop, which is 3 cards. Okay. Then you got to bet again. All right. Then you get to the turn. You got to bet again. Then you get to the river. And at any time people can raise and re-raise, it gets crazy. So say, like, going into the river, okay, you have committed, like, your chip stack is like $1 million for this example, and you're up against someone with a chip stack of 2.5. You've committed like 750,000 chips into the pot going into the river. Your opponent has committed the same, 750,000. You two are playing heads up, everyone else folded. Maybe there's some antes or nominal, big blind, small blind. Going into the river, your opponent still has $1.5 million in their chip stack. You have $250,000. There is no situation, barring like you having nothing, where you are folding, even if your opponent pushes what's called forces you all in by betting either the amount you have or assure you the other person's going to respond. You're pot committed. You're not giving up $750,000 so you don't get to see the river. What if your opponent's bluffing? What if they have nothing? No chance. And so this is what I'm talking about. This is the wild card here. So with Morrissey, he's pot committed. His reputation is on the line, but he's also risking another not guilty. Only one juror needs to hold out. One Norfolk County juror. His reputation's on the line. His office is on the line. Whatever operation was running out of the state police detectives unit under him is on the line. Everything is on the line. And he's got to decide within, like, I don't know what, 7, 14, like 21 days or so, whether to go all in or not. Let me just tell you this. This actually puts it into perspective for me. That hearing on July 16th, I'll get the exact date, is very important. I'm going to go to that hearing. I'll call Tommy and take the ride in, if he's okay. But I'll reach out to whoever I need to get in there. My point is, I will go to that hearing. All right? It's very important to me, and I think that it now has a seminal importance. It could turn, everything could turn on what they say, what Cosgrove says at that hearing. Because Morrissey has to choose. There's no middle ground. He must make a choice. He has all of his resources into this, all of his money, we're using an analogy. He must make his final decision. And he's got no one left around him. Tully's gone. Proctor's gone. God knows who else. Yuri's been reassigned. He's got... Who even is there to tell him that he should go down with this ship? Greg Connor doesn't stand a chance against Adam Deitch. He's got the feds breathing down his back. Yeah, I'd probably run from it. I mean, but he's not rational. That's why I'm saying, hope for the best, plan for the worst. He's not a rational actor. Nothing Michael Morrissey or Robert Cosgrove has done in this entire case has ever been rational. It's all been self-preservation. All of it. Irrational people don't make good decisions. All right, let's continue. The above described messages reveal that those investigating Carney, including Proctor, were so personally biased against him that they gleefully fantasized about the joy they would feel if Carney were incarcerated after a conviction. 45. In every message, emphasis on every, the defense has been provided in which Proctor is discussing the Carney investigation. Proctor uses disparaging or vulgar language to describe Carney. Proctor's credibility is relevant to Carney's defense. Here we go. This is what we call the, IR application section of the IRAC. This is the good part. Really, dive in. I'm a little bit late for lunch. Towel Girlfriend will forgive me, though. She is in the chat. Hashtag Towel Girlfriend. I love her dearly. We all love her dearly. She's great. Hashtag Towel Girlfriend. I adore you very much. She's great. She sings. We've played her singing before on the stream. I won't embarrass her. Well, I would play it. She's so great. It's angelic. Oh, she's wonderful. She's my person. Let's continue. Thank you for allowing me to indulge there. I'll blush a little. Given the volume of messages which reveal Proctor's prejudice, his bias against certain individuals, including Reed and Carney, and the impact that his general and actual biases have had on his official duties, it is reasonable to conclude that some of the thousands of unreleased Proctor messages in the people's possession, the Commonwealth's possession, custody, or control, tend to favor Carney in that they support his claim that the investigation against him was biased, flawed, and in bad faith, and in part motivated and influenced by Proctor's bias against Carney. 47. Carney's defense will include the argument that the investigation and prosecution was conducted in bad faith by the MSP and others for the purpose of silencing Carney's ongoing criticism of the Reed case. Also, the Tiffany Overstreet case and the Sandra Birchmore case. A large component of Carney's criticism of the Reed case centered on his opinion and reporting on Proctor's alleged corruption, that's true, and conflicts of interest as described above. Let me pause there to say, Aidan wrote far more articles about the Karen Reed case than about the other cases, which is Bettero's point. He was really narrowed in on Proctor's corruption. As described above, Proctor's personal bias against Carney resulted directly from Carney's criticism of him. See what Bettero's arguing? It's not that Carney induced the bias by criticizing him. That's not enough. It's that Proctor acted on a bias that came from the criticism. What you should do as a cop is just ignore the criticism. That's your job. Carney intends to call Proctor as a defense witness at trial to support his defense. We knew this. As part of this examination, the defense intends now, mind you, that forces Bettero and Bradel to ask, or Bradel, you have to pick one. You can't have two lawyers do a single direct. They have to ask Proctor leading questions. Who, what, when, where, and why. Only. Non-leading questions. They can't ask leading questions. So on cross, it would be more like, you went to the grocery store at 7:30 p.m. on that night, didn't you? Or isn't it true that you said that all cows are ugly? That's a cross question. A direct question is, why did you go to the grocery store? What time did you go to the grocery store? What did you do next? Who was there? When did you see that? What was the result of that interaction? Without telling me what was said, what was your state of mind? So that's the difference. How do you feel about cows? Yes, of course, the classic Aristotelian question on direct. Every good defense lawyer who has watched Jerry Spence knows that the first question you ask on direct of a hostile witness is, how do you feel about cows? That's how you trap them. Now, let me give one more layer to this while we're doing our erudite explication. If it gets to the point where Michael Proctor is called as a defense witness, it is very unlikely that Mark Betterow would have to ask open-ended questions the whole time. Why? Because Mark Betterow, if he does this direct or Bradel, would be smart enough to trap Proctor. You only have to ask open-ended questions if the witness is friendly. Now, you might say, what does that mean? It doesn't mean that, like, Michael Proctor is hostile to Mark Betterow as a person. A hostile witness is a very specific part of the rules. And I'm not a lawyer, this is not legal advice, but I did go to law school. What I'm saying with this is when a witness is hostile, it allows you to ask leading questions on direct. What is a hostile witness? Well, there's case law on this and rules. We'll read them at another point if we get close to this trial and when. And this didn't happen in Karen's case because I forget what happened, but Proctor didn't get called, either got called or wasn't allowed to be called by the defense, or the defense didn't end up calling him. But Aiden, I think, will definitely call him. And what ends up happening is the lawyer on direct will start asking, like, they know what they're doing. They're going to ask very, like, general, open-ended questions. The witness is going to think, and you can't stop yourself from doing it, that the lawyer is trying to trick them. And the lawyer is trying to trick them. Let's be clear. But the judge knows that the lawyer is trying to trick the witness within the rules. The witness is inevitably, especially with someone like Proctor, going to slip up and take the bait. And as soon as you slip up and take the bait, I'm not going to reveal exactly what happens or how it happens. I'm not going to let anyone have an edge. But as soon as you take the bait, you're done. You're going to go down a path where the outcome is bad for you. And a good lawyer like Mark Betterow or Bradel is thinking about this now. Because you have to think about that before you say you're going to call a witness. You're not going to ask Michael Proctor 100 open-ended questions during trial. You have a plan, trust me, and that's the most I'm going to say about my opinion on that. Because, you know. Now, Proctor has lawyers. Let's also remember, I know what I'm talking about a little bit. I'm a towel, even though I'm not a lawyer. Proctor has lawyers. I'm not telling you anything that his lawyers aren't going to tell him, which is they're going to try to trap you. I'm not going to say exactly what that means, how it would play out. I'm not going to give anyone an edge. But my point is, he has lawyers that are going to prep him, and they're going to tell him that exact thing. And it's a very, like, nuanced point of law, because it's not like, let me speak broadly. It's not like if the witness says, like, I hate you, that's enough. It's not. It really isn't. Or like, you are very rude. Nope, not enough. Nope. It's got to be more, but I don't want to give it away. We'll talk about it more, but there's a standard, and they have a plan. Never go into a battle without knowing your opponent and without knowing having a plan. And ideally, with having, so there's three variables when you're going into battle. One, what you know. One, what you know you don't know. And one, what you don't know you don't know. Okay? But it's a zero-sum equation. Okay? So you need to expand Category 1 as much as possible. Try to identify Category 2, and then by induction, figure out the percentage of Category 3 you have remaining. The person with the smallest percentage of Category 3, what you don't know, remaining when they get to the battlefield, normally wins. There's some advice. All right, I'm hungry. Let's get through this. I got this. Oh, I haven't had fun reading our court motion in a while. We were doing war coverage. I was ruminating on that in the shower this morning. I was thinking, war coverage is so important, but it really drains me because of the trauma and also the adrenaline and just the death. It just makes me very sad, but I have to tell people what's happening and where for very public safety purposes, and it's very intense. Court motions, oh, that just makes my heart sing. Not as much towel girlfriend, but I just love court motions. I understand. It also, what I was reflecting on, is that I think a lot of us who cover these cases think of them as life or death, which they are. There are liberty interests at stake. I'm not minimizing that. And in murder cases, we're oftentimes talking about someone who's lost their life, the victim. But I think it's different than bombs falling. That seems like a very surface level insight, but it just allows me a little more time to kind of like think about the material. I don't have to be like, oh God, we got to go to like here. And I'm not saying this is bad or good. It's just, I think this is where I get to actually like engage and think a little bit more versus like hard news coverage of the war, which is, I don't have the luxury of being able to think for even a second. It's very fast. So that's why I think it also puts into perspective the stakes. These are very high stakes, very, very high stakes. But at the same time, there's more time between hearings. It's just a prolonged process. So I think it has that room to breathe. And then you see more of the material. It's very interesting to think about. But I personally, in terms of, and you can't get joy out of covering war. You can't. I don't think, there was joy in meeting people, in seeing the camaraderie, in the bombs stopping, in peace, in protecting the goats. All sorts of moments of joy. But war is hell. And there's nothing pleasant about it. You can find silver linings. But I think court documents, especially when I think that there's hope for a positive outcome, I find a certain joy in the system functioning correctly. And I like court documents. I like the way they're written. I think this way. I like the way that they lay out arguments. I like the way that they tie facts to legal arguments and precedent and try to argue to achieve a result. That's what I like. I don't like the superfluous nature of a lot of modern legalese, which I find, as I mentioned, to be very in line with Habermas's critique of legal rationality. It's very ends justify the means reasoning that alienates participatory engagement in the democratic process. But I like a well-written court motion. Like, I've talked a lot about Justice Cardozo's opinion in Paul's Graph. If you've never read it, you should read it. That's good legal writing. You don't need it like a fifth grader to be able to understand it. It's like a good, have you ever thought about cartoons when you were growing up? Whether it was like Scooby-Doo in the 60s, like Hey Arnold in the 90s, SpongeBob in the 2000s. I haven't watched a lot of cartoons. I saw an episode of Bluey once. I thought it was nice. He was Australian. I enjoyed it. But I've never really watched it. Or The Simpsons, whatever it may be. Have you noticed, if you rewatch them, that they are very much speaking to two audiences simultaneously? The child audience and the adult audience. And I think that's the locus of a good court motion. It should tell the judge what they need to know in line with the rules and standards and practices of the legal profession, but it should speak to a lay audience in a manner that is accessible and then erudite and then also non-superfluous. And that's why I love court motions. I get joy from people who can take very complex issues and then package them in a way that cuts through the noise and tells a judge why something important needs to happen in the name of justice. So yeah. Hey Arnold was the best cartoon of all time. I agree. Now, Simpsons season 1, 2, well, maybe not the Tracy Ullman shorts, but Simpsons season 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 was good. 6, meh. Towel Girlfriend and I are watching a lot of these. I know a lot of series were good. Rugrats was good. I like that one. Hey Arnold was good. Scooby-Doo, Where Are You, from 64 to 67. But I don't think anything can beat like Conan O'Brien's era of writing for The Simpsons. Marge on the Monorail. Are you kidding me? Greatest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I love that episode. Just such erudite social commentary packaged in a way that a popular monoculture audience could receive without it being like a problem for the powers that be. Like, that show moves so effectively within institutions to subvert them within the era of monoculture that it shouldn't have been possible. The Simpsons in like 93. It was just absolutely almost impossible. There had been some relatively like insightful shows, obviously, that permeated the culture, but until The Simpsons came around, it really set the tone for South Park too. There was nothing like it. And then we broke out of the era of monoculture, and now it's a free-for-all. But you go back and watch some of that early Simpsons, that was radical stuff. Not because of what they were saying. It wasn't like vulgar, really, but it was very radical. It was very sardonic social commentary that was very blunt if you were listening. But yeah, no, Hey Arnold, in terms of, and don't let me nick it. If I had to rate what I think are like the best, it would probably be a very close between Simpsons, Hey Arnold, Recess, the early version of Doug, stuff like that. The reason why I put Hey Arnold so high up on the list is, so first of all, the soundtrack to Hey Arnold, it's scored beautifully. If you ever want to like put yourself in an urban 90s environment, just like the mood, you gotta watch Hey Arnold or Full House. Full House isn't as strong of a show, but the intro is very timely. It feels like After School in 1994. Anyway, the point really with Hey Arnold, though, is that its psychological insights into the human mind are better than reading Aristotle's De Anima. It has its point. It is the best at what it does. And I feel like I degrade it a little bit by ranking it lower than Simpsons season 4, because on the whole, season 1 through 36 of The Simpsons is worse overall than Hey Arnold. The Simpsons at its best, probably more entertaining than Hey Arnold, but Hey Arnold as a corpus, as a work, is much better. It's much better than Recess too. I love Recess, but to speak to the soul of humanity, yeah, Hey Arnold really typifies the genre. One of the best that was ever done. Absolutely great show. It's a little hit or miss. Some of them go down weird paths. And mind you, I've watched a few recently. I watch a lot of media. I'm a voracious consumer of information. I just need information all the time. We got a little distracted there, though. Thank you for that little trauma buffer. I appreciate all of you. We'll get a goat video before we go as well. I gotta finish this, though. I want to hang out with Tower Girlfriend and order my lunch. Here we go. All right. We learned that Carney intends to call Proctor as a defense witness at trial to support his defense. As part of this examination, the defense intends to prove that Carney believed Proctor was corrupt, that he sought to notify the public about Proctor's corruption, and that as a result, Proctor arbitrarily sought Carney's prosecution to do something to silence Carney's criticism of himself and others. Did you like the show Doug? Yes, I liked the early version of Doug. I think once it switched to Disney, meh. But the early version on Nickelodeon, oh yeah. It's a little awkward. There's a lot of Schadenfreude. Investigative targets, and Carney specifically, is favorable to Carney's defense and must be disclosed. 51. Irrespective of the ultimate admissibility of such evidence, the Commonwealth, and remember, it's either irrespective or regardless, not irregardless. Webster's can add irregardless to the dictionary. I say it's inappropriate to use. It's irrespective or regardless. Irrespective of the ultimate admissibility of such evidence, the Commonwealth is obligated to disclose evidence in their possession, custody, or control, which tends to A, tends to undermine Proctor's credibility, and B, supports the defense's claim that the investigation was conducted in bad faith or lacked integrity. See Matter of a Grand Jury Investigation 485 Mass 641 is the pin site, 653 is the page, 2020. See also Kyles v. Whitley, 514 U.S., a federal case, 419, 446 to 48, 1995, summarizing the federal case, quote, evidence that may support claim that investigation lacked integrity or was conducted in bad faith is favorable and must be disclosed to the defense. Excellent. 52. The communications or items from Proctor's cell phone are discoverable under numerous provisions of Rule 14. I told you about this. Under Rule 14b1b, the prosecution must disclose any relevant written or recorded statements of a person who has testified before a grand jury. 9. Mr. Proctor's text messages, footnote 9, and emails constitute a written statement, which includes any writing made, signed, or adopted by a person with percipient knowledge of relevant facts. See Rule 14b3ai. Remember, in 2023, when this case started, there wasn't this broad scope Rule 14. It changed in 2025 to be more favorable to the defense. 53. It was a legislative change. Proctor's communication, it might have actually been a rule change, I don't remember. Proctor's communications and other items on his cell phone are discoverable under Rule 14b to B7 because they help establish a defense theory and that they support the defense position that the MSP investigation was biased, conflicted, and conducted in bad faith. 54. Proctor's communications are discoverable under Rule 14b to C5b because they constitute items or information that tend to establish deficiencies or lapses in the investigation of the case. 55. At minimum, the Commonwealth should be directed to provide the full extraction of Proctor's phone to the court for an in-camera, that means the judge would look at it privately first, review so that the court may determine which messages should be disclosed to the defense. All of them. Wherefore, the court should issue an order compelling the Commonwealth to disclose to the Carney defense Proctor's communications and other items recently extracted from his cell phone in its possession, custody, and control, which tend to favor the defense under Brady, Giglio, and Kyle's, and or which are discoverable under Rule 14. Hashtag shout out Kyle. He's a cow. By Mark Battereau at the City of New York, in the state of New York, on June 18, 2026. Mr. Battereau, indeed. All right, that's the end. Good job. All right, you got a goat video now. And then I'll do my outro. Then I'm going to eat lunch. I'm sure you want me to be a well-fed towel, and I'm sure you all will allow Towel Girlfriend to spend some time with her wonderful towel. I am wonderful. She's wonderful. I'm so happy. All right, you all get a goat video. Everyone loves the goats. I don't have a turtle video. There are turtles in Lebanon. I'm sorry to report that a turtle conservationist was killed tragically in Lebanon 3 days ago by an Israeli strike. I couldn't believe the headline when I saw it. But yes, a turtle conservationist was killed in Lebanon by an Israeli strike just 3 days ago. It's heartbreaking. I do have more positive news, okay? On June 15th, 2026, this herd of goats was able to return to southern Lebanon. Now, there's a lot of goats. All right? Those are goats. I know a lot of you were looking forward to this. Thank you all for helping us reach our towel goal. It happened after the timer, but we still counted it. You're wonderful. I'm so grateful to all of you. Look at those goats. How can you, even after that intense motion, how can you not be uplifted by goats? Look at those goats. Everyone loves their goats. They're great. It's a perfect way to end the stream. Speaking of that, we do have a tradition on this stream. I heard a rumor, by the way, that Bunny Towel here. Now, I gave him to my mom for Mother's Day, but she abandoned him. She didn't want him. She rejected him. So I put him on my bookshelf and just left him there. And then maybe like 2 years ago, we were talking about bunnies or something on the channel. I don't remember how it came up. But I went and I was like, I'm going to get Bunny Towel, Pete Bunny Towel. So he has been our channel mascot for years. I don't even know how long. So I heard he's going to be coming in plushie form. I heard a rumor that Towel Girlfriend might be working on a plushie version of Bunny Towel. His name is Pete Bunny Towel, but we're going to put him in plushie form as Bunny Towel. Now, I saved him, okay, and you all will get the chance. Now, Francine is going to be so happy. She loves Peep. Oh, goodness, you don't understand. We even have Peep as an emoji. He's just beloved by so many. So we're going to make him into an emoji. So, yeah, it's going to be great. He is an emoji. We're going to make him into a plushie. And then you're going to be able to get him. Silent Dogs, what's in it for you? You get it. Oh, I don't know if you're asking me or someone else, but you get a plushie. I don't know how, that's what you get if you get the plushie. I think that's the point. And then you'll be able to have a plushie. Yes, Mercury Star, we've been toning that down in the name of world peace, but he's ever on the watch for the commies in case they try to infiltrate America. He's not a... Oh God, you got him going. Peep. Oh, he's really mad. He really doesn't like... he really doesn't like commies. He gets really mad if you look back at some of the prior streams from like a year or two ago. Oh, you bring up the commies. He just goes off about them. He's very worried about like the return of the communist. I mean, he basically would reform the John Birch Society if he had the opportunity to do so. Like, he thinks commies are in the toilet bowl. He thinks the mailman's a commie. Like, you don't understand. I had been working on like deconditioning him, trying to like in the name of world peace like help us all get along, but like he has this like, you know, almost like General MacArthur, like Dr. Strangelove style compulsion where like he is convinced that the commies are gonna like take on America, so he will not let me drop it. Even right now he's furious, so he's an anti-communist bunny. I don't know what to tell you. You can try to convince him to change. I don't think you could read Marx at him. That's probably not going to work. He doesn't really like Engels or Marx. He's not really a young Hegelian. He's more, I'd say he's inspired by, oh goodness, you know, some of the more, like the John Birch Society, vociferous right-wing voices of the 1950s. You know, maybe he would have been involved in the House Un-American Activities Committee. He kind of wants to restart HUAC. Like, you know, I don't know if we want to go to... He thinks that everyone is pink down to their underwear unless they love, you know, like America and all that. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. Unlike Joseph McCarthy, he doesn't have a drinking problem. So what we have to worry about is if he gets in any positions of authority, he's going to take on the commies, and you're not going to be able to bring him down with a drinking scandal. He's a stuffed bunny. So anyway, yeah, you know, you got him going. But this is Pete Bunnytail. He's great. He shows up at the end of streams. He says hi to his friend Francine. And then I list the American presidents in order. This is called Tippecanoe and Tyler 2. Shout out Tripoli Bob. As a video of goats returning to southern Lebanon after forced displacement. You know what? Has the UN considered that forced displacement of goats should be a war crime? I think we need to think more about the fact that these goats had to travel over roads to return to their grazing lands. That is completely inappropriate. What if the cars hit them? You can't have the cars going like 30 miles an hour next to those goats. God help anyone who hurts those goats by driving irresponsibly. You think we got it bad in Boston? In South Lebanon, you have to drive around herds of goats. All right? If for no other reason you sympathize with the Lebanese people, not just the millions of people displaced during the war, the tens of thousands of people killed, not to mention the children killed, God rest their soul, Father Pierre, the Catholic Maronite priest who was killed in the early days of the war. That really upset the Pope. If, for no other reason, you feel sympathy for the people of Lebanon, let it be that when they drive on their roads, they have to contend with giant herds of goats who were illegally displaced during a war. All right? It could be worse. All right? Anytime you're in Boston driving around and you get upset, just think, okay, it could be worse. I could be in South Lebanon. This could be a herd of goats, and I could have to worry about whether or not the Israelis are going to displace me again. All right? Let's just keep that in mind. All right, now I got to do the presidents. This is called Tippecanoe and Tyler 2. Here we go. It's the way I test my mental acuity after a stream. President Washington, then President Adams, then President Jefferson, then President Madison, then President Monroe, then President Adams Jr., then President Jackson, then President Van Buren. Skip 9, 10, 11, 12. 13 is President Fillmore. Then we do Tippecanoe and Tyler 2. So that's going to be Polk, Taylor, Pierce, Buchanan, Lincoln, Johnson, Grant, Rutherford B. Hayes, Garfield, Chester A. Arthur, Cleveland, Harrison, Cleveland, McKinley, Teddy Roosevelt, William Howard Taft, Woodrow Wilson, Harding, Coolidge, Hoover, FDR, Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan, Bush 1, Clinton, Bush 2, Obama, Trump, Biden, Trump. How about them apples? So yeah, I'm doing all right. Anyway, as a final reminder, if you benefited from this stream today, or if you like this public information service, this is Towel News, youtube.com/@GrantSmithEllis. Feel free to like the stream while it's live. Helps the channel. Feel free to subscribe. You can hype the video. You can send a super chat, become a member. There's lots of ways to support. The links are pinned in the chat. I'll drop them one more time. #FeedTowel. There's a Cash App, money sign Grant Smith Ellis. There's a Venmo at Grant-E1. There's a PayPal, paypal.me/Grant Ellis. There's also a Revolut for those of you in other countries, revolut.me/@Grant Smith Ellis. You can scan on the screen as well. There's a Cash App, there's a Venmo. Thank you for supporting this one-man public information service, which is designed, as I mentioned, to educate, inform, and entertain. 40% education, 40% information, 20% entertainment to buffer your brain from trauma in the service of engendering cogent public discourse, such as to ward off the usurpation of our representative or otherwise forms of government worldwide. If you want to see more, if you like what you see, if you want to support the operation, help feed Towel, keep me going. I appreciate all your help, doing what I can at the end of the month. Thank you very much for all of you being so compassionate, kind, respectful, and wonderful today. I saw a lot of great discussions in chat, a lot of positive vibes. I appreciate you all more than you know. So does Beep Bunny Towel. But if you really want to pay it forward, you may consider a donation to TurtleBoy or Karen Reed, for example, or other causes you think are important. And the way I like to end my stream is by saying you may consider a donation to our homeless vets or service members or their families. Not a single veteran should be homeless in the United States of America against their will. If they want to go live in the woods, we're not going to stop them. They have survival skills. But a single veteran homeless against their will in the United States of America is a single veteran too many, and it means we have failed as a society. We have failed to fulfill our basic duty to stand up and help those who stood up for us and our rights that are so important and that we invoke and talk about so often. The Constitution is as strong as our military and the cogency of our public discourse, and don't any of you ever forget it. Now, what if you like animals? We really like animals on this stream. You may consider a donation to an animal shelter run by veterans or that helps our veterans or service members. It's a great way to help our furry friends, a great way to help our service members or vets. Now, what if you like animals and can't find such a service? You may consider an animal shelter in general. Making a donation to that is a great way to help our furry friends stand up for those like the goats who can't stand up for themselves. They can technically walk, but rhetorically, metaphorically, they can't really stand up for themselves. I'm going to build them shelters. That's my plan. Going into the next war, we're going to have goat shelters, and we can have turtle shelters. They kind of have shelters built on themselves in general. We're still going to build shelters for the animals. I know it's a big project. Who cares? You can just do things these days. If you're in the UK, you may consider a donation to The Big Issue. It's a great way to help populations experiencing homelessness in the UK. It's a newspaper that supports homeless populations. They can't yell out on the street corner anymore, but the newspaper is still running. Spare Change News in Somerville as well is another good way to help if you're local to Boston. But it doesn't have to be a donation. It can be something as simple as smiling at someone or a goat on the street, reaching out to a friend or family member you haven't heard from in a while, or yes, even giving away 200 tomato plants like Francis Futrell did one time and having them designated honorary towels during the outro for Evermore. Yes, in that way, ladies and gentlemen, may we continue to pray the current realpolitik changes from one centered on preserving, expanding, and demonstrating our power to instead one centered on preserving, expanding, and demonstrating our capacity to engage in small acts of service and kindness rooted in unconditional love, therein allowing us to live up to our Tau Eudaimonia or Summum Bonum, our greatest good in the ancient Greek or Latin respectively, and in turn bringing about a new digital epoch defined by Aquarius the water bearer, standing tall and carrying a pea bunny towel. God bless all of you. Thank you so much for your time today. I'll continue covering Aiden's case going forward. I'll continue to update you as further motions are filed. There's a motion to dismiss that's going to be filed, I think, unredacted at a certain point. We'll review it. We'll obviously cover that July 16th, 2026 hearing. Best of luck to him. Consider donating to his fundraiser. Let me see if I can find that. Hold on, I'll drop it in the comments. Give me 1 second. The whole stream was about, his case, so let me find the fundraiser. TurtleBoy gives in fundraisers. All right, I do love the goats. Oh, Ray's gonna love this. Is this the right one? I gotta make sure I have the right one. Yeah, this is the right one. It was like Ray. Tom Brady's the goat, but Ray's gonna love this because, and I'm gonna do this dual screen. Ray probably doesn't know about the goats. I'm gonna have to message him and shout out Ray from Dallas. So on the left is a video of goats. Okay. On the right is TurtleBoy's fundraiser. Now Ray from Dallas calls TurtleBoy the goat. So there you go. Goats for TurtleBoy. How about that? That's a great hashtag. So consider supporting TurtleBoy. TurtleBoy's fundraiser link. This stream was indeed about his case, so consider doing that. I think I've donated before myself. I can move some money around. My bank account's... but I can do it because you all sent very kind donations. Actually, you know what? Let's just do that now. Hold on 1 second. Let's try to start a trend. Like if we're going to do streams about TurtleBoy's documents or Karen's documents, I think we can set this tone. So I got some donations today. God bless you all. I think I will transfer some of it and we can just donate a little bit of that. I can't do a lot because I still need to get my lunch. But we can donate a little bit to Aiden. And that's a good tone. I think it's a good tone to set. So now I gotta, hold on 1 second. I gotta separate this if I want to do it though. Alright. I gotta do it in a new tab. Let me see here. Alright. Alright. It's a good tone to set though. Alright, so let me do this. How does this work? I think give send go is relatively easy to make work. Okay. I already have a give send go, don't I? Alright. Yeah. Alright. Alright. Best of luck, Aiden. Alright. Now what do I do? Okay. Oh, I have to do the credit card. Hold on. I think this will work. Give me 1 second. Okay. Ah! It's already there. Perfect. I'm thrilled. Oh, I have to put in a 2-factor code. That's nice. I'm glad that they have 2-factor authentication for that. Nice job, Give Send Go. 10 out of 10. Alright, give me 1 second. Alright. There you go. See? There you go. Alright. I don't know when it will show up, but yeah, that was the confirmation. Good job. Hashtag Amatel. Oh, God bless you, Sherry. Thank you so much for that wonderful laughing disco. I like that a lot. So yeah, sent a donation as I could over to Aiden, and I think that's a very important tone to set, and I hope other creators that cover the case will join me at the end of their streams, even if it's not a fundraiser stream. I think it's a good way, like especially if you get super chats or donations at the end of the stream. You don't have to like give away. People got to live and eat, but you can give a little bit back. I think we can all pledge to do that. I mean, I can't make other people pledge, but I'm happy to do it. So I did that. It'll show up eventually. I don't know why it doesn't show. Why doesn't it show the most recent? Well, it'll show up. I already got the email with the confirmation, so I know it went through. All right. So anyway, do consider a donation to TurtleBoy's case as well. God bless you all. Thank you for watching Towel News. That'll be our end today. On war streams, I like to end with the national anthem. I don't think I want to do that for court streams. It is apropos, but it's a little out of place. I feel it's appropriate for war coverage, not so much for court coverage. Anyway, this has been Towel News, youtube.com/@GrantSmithEllis. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for staying informed and remaining cogent members of our polity. That's what helps to protect our democracy. You can find more from me going forward on various cases and war coverage on this very channel on YouTube. And thank you all again very much for spending the day with me. Thank you for being you. God bless all of you. I pray that the world continues to move in a positive direction. There aren't really a lot of bombs falling right now, so that's positive. Hope Karen's case goes in a good direction, as well with Aiden. And I hope you all have a wonderful day as well. Thank you all again for supporting this channel. Thank you for being you. God bless you. It's 2:50 p.m. Eastern here in Boston. Signing off for Towel News. It's 8:50 p.m. in South Africa, 9:50 p.m. in Tel Aviv, Israel, and 10:20 p.m. in Tehran, Iran. It's Wednesday, June 24th, 2025. God bless you all. Good afternoon. I'm going to eat a chicken sandwich. Be well. Thank you again. My name's Grant Smith Ellis. From me and people.